Hey there, everybody. How we doing? Welcome to the season finale live stream, talking about episode 8 of season 3 of House of the Dragon. Hey, to everyone watching on rewatch as we let everyone get through the opening ad break who is live here. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the episode. Make sure you like the stream, it really does help. And let's get on into it. Hello to everyone there in the chat. So far, at least, the people talking in chat seem to have enjoyed the season in general. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think of both the episode and also, of course, the whole season. I thought it was pretty darn good. I thought that it has gone a long way to fixing the issues that they had at the end of season 2, which, of course, I think were mostly caused by the fact that the end of season 2 was cut off. We got the end of season 2 here in season 3, and yeah, that is definitely helpful to not have your season cut short unexpectedly. So I think we're mostly right back on track. Um, and so this is an interesting question. I don't know. Let me know, I guess, in chat if it's been confirmed. But is season 4 confirmed to only have 8 episodes? I know it's confirmed to be the last season. I thought there was some possibility that maybe they would have more episodes if they needed it rather than 2 more seasons, maybe a longer fourth season. I don't know if it's been like officially confirmed yet or not, but last I thought I heard, we didn't exactly know for sure. Um, but with that being said, welcome in to everyone. Let's start rolling on through the scenes here and chatting about the episode. Um, so we start off with the saying Quinn and Haven mentioned 8 episodes on the stream. I think that is the general assumption. I think like it is if you were gonna bet on a number, it's the safest bet to say that we have 8 episodes. But I don't know if like the showrunners have come out and said no, there will only be 8 episodes. If there are, dang, it's gonna be a lot of big events and sort of a rush to the finish. But I personally kind of hope they go back to 10 episodes for the final season. But if they are confident they can do it in 8, then it is what it is. I just hope HBO gives them as many episodes as they feel they need to properly end it. I don't want everything in the last season to feel rushed because they only have 8 episodes. You know what I mean? Like if the writers think we only need 8 episodes, awesome, dope, do that. But if the writers are going, oh no, we need 10 episodes, uh, and then HBO's like, no, you have 8. It's like, well, that would actively, I think, hurt the final season of the show and therefore the show overall. So yeah, that's where my head is at with it. Because yeah, I do think 8 episodes would be a rush to the finale. Personally, but yeah, maybe it would be 8 really long episodes. I guess that is also the other option. If they don't give them more episodes, they can just have all the episodes be like an hour and 20 minutes or whatever. Um, but yeah, so in any case, this episode starts with Orwell looking for Rhaenyra as Daemon stares at his beautiful set of armor, and Rhaenyra comes into the room crying and breathing heavily because Aegon has risen. He has risen from the dead, um, which is, not phenomenal news. You are trying to proclaim that you are the ordained by the gods ruler of the kingdoms. It's a bit of an issue, and it's an issue that Rhaenyra has kind of created for herself. She is the one who declared Aegon dead. She is the one who is basing so much of her legitimacy on the idea that the gods have chosen her to rule. And yeah, now now we're directly seeing the issues that are coming from that with Aegon literally coming back from the dead. So yeah, yeah, she's doing an anti-hallelujah. He is risen. Oh crap, that's not good. That's not good. But yeah, yeah, yeah. So she says that the small folk name and a sign from the gods, as you tend to do when someone comes back from the dead. That's understandable for the small folk. And Damon basically tells her that, hey, we're gods. Don't worry about it. These lesser gods of the seven and the small folks gods have no ability to say what's going on. Our dragons will say who's in charge. He says you have an absolute power at your grasp. You need only to wield it. And then Rhaenyra finally, like, sort of crashes out at Viserys and the idea of prophecy. Because, like, yeah, that is one of the big things in this world is that prophecy, as Marwyn the Mage says, we've said it plenty of times. In Feast for Crows, Marwyn the Mage says prophecy will bite your prick off every time. It will treat you like this loving woman, and it'll take you in its mouth, and you'll think, "Oh, this feels so good, so great," and then it bites your prick off. That's what Marwyn the Mage's analogy is, and that is absolutely what's going on here with Rhaenyra. She's been giving into this sort of magical thinking throughout ever since basically Sea Smoke showed up on the beach, and she's like, "Oh, maybe the gods have chosen me to rule. Like they're helping me." Um, and so she has uh she has built up this idea that she is the prophesied hero. Viserys died believing she's the prince who was promised. She now believes that. Daemon now believes that. And so she thinks everything that she's doing is for this prophecy, or at least she's telling herself as much as she can that it's for this prophecy, not just the desire to rule. And yeah, it is slowly driving her crazy, destroying her family, destroying her life, and that's what happens. So she gets mad at Viserys and at the prophecy, and Daemon sort of calms her down, and she tells him to go to Tumbleton and to take the city, take the army, lead them in. Don't destroy the entire city. Don't make her look like a monster, but root out and kill every high tower, basically, which is what Daemon really wants to do anyway. Especially as we'll see later on in the episode, he's given the explicit option to win the battle without killing all of the high towers or try to win the battle while killing all the high towers. And he very clearly wants to just kill all the high towers much more than anything else. Um, and then yeah, Rhaenyra says that she will find Aegon and kill him myself. So Rhaenyra is making this very personal now at this point. So yeah, that is the plan. Daemon's going to Tumbleton. Rhaenyra's gonna sit here and be angry and eventually try to kill Aegon. Um, then we get a good scene between her and Baela. So Baela is asking about, like, hey, what's the plan to go and rescue my grandfather? Lord Corlys has been captured and he's held inside Tumbleton. What is the plan to get him out? Because if we're taking the city and we attack, they're obviously just going to kill the hostage, right? Like, if you're losing the battle and you have a hostage, there's a pretty good chance they're going to kill the hostage. Um, so she says that she wants to be sent now, rather than waiting until after the battle for Daemon to search for Corlys, which makes a lot of sense from Baela's perspective. She's correct there. And Rhaenyra is mad at her because her patrols have led to no results. They've never found Vhagar. And as Rhaenyra points out here, Sunfire was allowed to live, which Rhaenyra is right about because Baela and Adam assured her that Sunfire was dead, which from the air, I'm sure it looked like Sunfire was dead. Hell, from the ground, it looked like Sunfire was dead. But they could have also landed and just roasted the body, I guess, or, taken the head off of Sunfire and brought it back to King's Landing as like a trophy or whatever. They did not. So, she's mad. And, that is fair. Like, if your scout that you send out says, hey, this big dragon is dead, don't worry about it, and then you find out that big dragon is not dead and you have to worry about it, being a little angry is justifiable there. Um, so yeah. Then Baela calls out Rhaenyra of like, hey, you don't treat people well. If people are useful to you, even your closest advisors, you wield them so long as they're useful, and then you cast them aside. And yeah, that is also correct. Like, this is another correct point from Bela that, Rhaenyra does not treat people well. That's kind of one of the themes of this entire season, right? Ever since Rhaenyra has taken the throne, she has alienated everyone around her, especially Ulf, who, is kind of the big climactic event of this entire season, is Ulf just deciding he hates both sides and that he's being treated badly by both sides. But if Rhaenyra had treated him well this entire season, rather than viewing him like a tool to wield, they probably wouldn't be in this mess. Um, so yeah, and also Rhaenyra is somewhat justified in being angry at Bela because, again, Bela and Jace locked her in a room and then went off to battle alone, and Jace got killed. So yeah, a lot of somewhat justified anger on both sides here, I would say, which makes for an interesting scene. And then Rhaenyra, after she's told that she abandons people who are not useful to her and called out for doing that to Rhaena, she grabs Bela by the face, which is not a great look, Rhaenyra, and she says that insolence runs in your blood, which is very, very funny because she is just straight up talking about her husband here. She's just like, listen, I'm married to your dad. I know where you get this insolence from. Um, but yeah, she is, yeah. People are saying they were not prepared for Rhaenyra to go full on like crazy person face grab. It's not quite Daemon doing the full on choking of Rhaenyra in a heated moment, but it's like 3 inches higher. a, a little bit lower on the grab, and she's turning into Daemon right here. But yeah, yeah. And yes, I do agree. Like, I mean, I guess let me know if you guys disagree in the comments, but I think Ulf would have been pretty easy to keep on side if he had gotten a castle, some drinking buddies. Um, he would have absolutely just stuck to the team that gave him that. He had to. I mean, you literally probably could have kept him on side just by letting him go to the pub. Now granted, he might have gotten murdered during that whole section of the season where like gold cloaks were being killed in the streets. That group would have absolutely probably gotten to Ulf. So like Rhaenyra is maybe a little justified by keeping him in the Red Keep when you examine it from that perspective and remember everything that was going on at the moment. But yeah, like if you could have gotten him a castle, a team of guards, and kept him, nice and happy and drunk, I bet he wouldn't have switched sides. And Ormond makes the same mistake later on in the episode, um, to, do the exact thing that caused Ulf to abandon the other side in the first place when Daemon struck him in the streets in front of everyone. Ormond literally does the exact same thing later on. Um, so yeah, then here we get this scene of Alan and the Velaryon men arriving, and they're like, "Hey, we don't necessarily know if we should go into the city and be Rhaenyra's guards because if we do, they might kill Corlys." And Alan is just like, "No, Corlys knew the risks of what he was doing. If you guys, well, you guys listen to me now." Basically, is what he says. Is he's just like, "Listen, I'm gonna tell you what to do. Corlys would want us to hold Velaryon honor higher than his own life." And they say, "Who are you to tell us what to do?" And he's like, "I am Corlys's eldest son and chosen heir, your once and future Lord of the Tides." So, yeah, this is a badass line and a badass moment from him sort of standing up and just owning that, like, hey, I'm taking over this house when Corlys dies. You have to listen to me. Um, I don't know if there's been an off-screen conversation where he is now fully convinced that he is about to be legitimized. Even like when watching this, when I first saw this scene, I was wondering is he legitimized? Is it something that happened that they're going to reveal later on that it's already been agreed to? I think he's just sort of acting under the assumption that like, hey, if I get on Rhaenyra's good side, she will absolutely legitimize me, which is probably a good bet, and also probably the only bet that he can really make at this point. But yeah, he's just owning it as if it has already happened, and it works because the Velaryon men do listen to him. He has asserted himself, he has taken power, and yeah. So he leads them into the city, and they are the guards now for Rhaenyra. Uh, Ormond then is like, as the army is all gathering, Darren is looking out over the army, everyone heading off to the walls in their full armor. Ormond tells him that all of this is for you, but you cannot become the king until you're knighted. And so he has him get down, and then he just doesn't do the normal knight's vows. He's just like, no, I'm gonna knight you with my own vows. And he includes stuff about like, hey, make sure you listen to your commander and make sure you do what you're told. Make sure you light the way. So some potentially very self-serving vows that he makes Darren swear here. And he dubs him Darren the Daring. So yeah. Yeah. And yes, the armor in this show is absolutely phenomenal. Um, and okay, so we have some discussion about Alan here, uh, that he is okay with either outcome. That is on some level a little bit true. I would agree with that. And his brother calls him out on it later on in the episode of like, hey, you're okay with our dad dying because that means you get to take his place. And that might not be wrong. That might not be wrong. Hello, hello to everyone rolling on in here. Um, hello, hello. And yeah, about Ulf. Yes, I do agree that Ulf he's always going to have that hole in him, right? He's always going to be a bit of a bitter, unhappy drunk and unreliable, as he proves later on. He will always be unreliable, even when he's promised Driftmark. Um, but I'm not even really talking about that. I'm talking about like you could keep him from going full betrayal. Like it would have been easy to keep him on side. It may not be easy to make him into a person who would be reliable necessarily. So, yeah, it's he's an interesting character, but yes, he is absolutely at the end of the day a drunken sot. Um who yeah, you can't rely on him for anything. Um let's see. Yeah, no, this is true. Like Alan did sort of play this role. This is something I was going to bring up too. Alan played this role with Corlys for like 30 years. He was just like, I don't know exactly how old he is, but for decades. He was like, I'm just going to work hard. Corlys knows who I am. I'm going to do my duty. I'm going to prove myself. And then it worked in the end when Corlys, all of his other heirs died. So that's that helped, I'm sure. But eventually Corlys did come around. So Alan has seen it work before to be like, I'm just gonna do my duty and then prove myself, and then this highborn will want to legitimize me and give me my birthright, essentially. And so, yeah, I do think he's playing the same game with Rhaenyra that he did with Corlys. And yeah, Rhaenyra like respects him far quicker and gives him power and trusts him far quicker than Corlys did. So yeah, I think it is a good bet from where he's at, like from his perspective, that yeah, uh, it's a reasonable bet for him to just try do what Rhaenyra wants and assume that eventually she'll come to the same conclusion that Corlys did, that he should be legitimized. Um, yeah, this too. Like, if he could have gotten his drinking buddies exactly what they wanted, he'd be still riding that high, probably for a long time. And that does also kind of, in a way, show that Ulf has his own, you know, drunk at a bar version of loyalty, where, like, yeah, he's maybe not the most reliable to be awake and sober when a dragon battle begins, but he does have his buddies back. Like, he's reliable in the way that he will get a promotion and then, like, a week later go to his boss and try pull some favors for his buddies. So he has that sort of camaraderie and loyalty to him. So yeah, it's he's an interesting character, sure, for sure. Um, let's see. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, the once in future reference did also give me a little head scratch because I'm like, did you used to be Lord of the Tides? Like, I get that you're the future Lord of the Tides. Were you the once and future Lord of the Tides? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. Um, yeah, no, I guess he was he like talking about when Corlys was briefly out of commission for a while? I don't know. I don't know. Um, the show. Well, there's going to be a movie about Aegon's conquest. I don't know where we vote on it, but we're getting a movie, so hopefully that will be hopefully that'll be good. And my big question now, given what we learned later on in this episode, is will Gail Rankin play Alice Rivers? Will Alice Rivers be Heron the Black's wife in the Aegon's Conquest movie? Because apparently that's who she is, which I guess we'll talk about. Um, but yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, hello, hello. Um, but okay, so yeah, Darren the Daring is knighted by Ormond, and then we get Ulf doing what he really just wants to do at the end of the day. Uh, brag at the bar, drink for free, rub on the backs of the serving wenches, and they have to sort of smile and just take it. This is what Ulf wants. For he wants to be the big cool guy at the bar who's allowed to just yell whatever he wants and everyone listens, and he's allowed to climb up on the table and talk about how great he is while he drinks for free. Like, he is living the dream for Ulf right here. So yeah, he he's giving his big speech, making eyes at all the serving girls, talking about how Damon is Rhaenyra's uncle, no, her lover, no, her husband, and she's got him in a kennel. She won't let him use his dragon, and so yeah, he's somewhat right about that. She won't let him completely unleash the dragon, but he also does use it fairly effectively. Um, but yeah, and yeah, he's got those big bags under his eyes. He is, yeah, he's very drunk and just barely holding on, which is probably why he passes out on the toilet after this and misses most of the battle. Um, and yes, he does just want to be the regular at Cheers. He absolutely does. Yes, this is Ulf the White's dream job. Is he's in the wrong show. He is. He wishes he was in Cheers, but he is stuck in House of the Dragon, so he's making the most of it. Um, and yes, yeah, like all of this does show absolutely Daemon. He like idolized Daemon and Viserys when he was talking about them. I think he thinks that they're brothers or half brothers. And yeah, he would have absolutely way rather be Team Daemon, but he got beaten down in the street, and he's never gonna forgive that. So yeah, here he is, and then we get Rhaenyra looking at the crown and Viserys's model of Valyria, and she's told that Helena has still not taken any food. She also then says, "Hey, Alinda, go get Alan and the guards. I'm going to need a full escort to the Sept, where today I will be anointed by the High Septon." She says there will be no doubt who the gods have chosen to rule. Which, again, going with that whole line of, like, the gods have chosen me when your opponent has been resurrected from the dead is a tough sell, but she's committed to the bit. She's already she's already gone down that path and she's not changing her mind, I guess. Um, and then she says to Alinda one more thing, and then she has Alinda go and fire Massaria. So yeah, your passage has been arranged aboard the Mermaid's Kiss, and she tells her you've served the Queen faithfully, but your service is at an end. And Massaria doesn't quite know what the hell's going on. I made the joke on David Lightbringer's stream right after the episode. I'm like, imagine you were about to get fired, because Massaria was about to get fired earlier on. Imagine you're about to get fired, you seduce your boss. Instead of getting fired, you end up sleeping together, and then the next day you get fired anyway. Like, this has got to be just wild for Massaria. She's just like, "No, wait, what? Like, I was about to I was about to get fired, but then we slept together and I thought I saved my job, and now the next day it's like, nope, you're fired anyway." Uh so yeah, that was pretty funny. And yes, a lot of people in the chat are happy to see Massaria getting fired. I do agree. It was a satisfying scene. Um but it represents like the long character arc that Rhaenyra has been on, of like Massaria is sort of the angel on her shoulder, Daemon is sort of the devil on her shoulder. Massaria is telling her to be like Viserys and be kind and do all this stuff. Daemon's like, we need to burn everyone who opposes us. And the firing of Massaria is confirmation that Rhaenyra has fully gone down the Daemon path. In the early, like in the beginning scene of the episode, Daemon is just like, listen, what these people think doesn't matter. The only thing that these people respect is power. You have dragons, you have the ultimate power, you need to use it. I think he says all they respect is strength, and you know that. And Rhaenyra agrees. So basically, she is going down the path of strength rather than niceness, and that's why Massaria now has to go. Um, Alinda doesn't get it, because Alinda has been like Massaria's spy essentially for a long time. She has, I think, worked for Massaria basically as long as she's been in the show. I don't know if like maybe there was a little time where Alinda was around where she wasn't an informant for Massaria, but I don't think so. Um, so yeah, this is like your bestie, one of your employees has to come and fire you. So yeah, it's an awkward situation for both of them, but Massaria is gone. Um, Interestingly, very interestingly, Helena sees the horse and cart that she dreamed about, the one in the beginning of the previous episode where she dreams about it, and she dreams about the gates opening and the light shining upon her, and there's this freedom that she's dreaming of, and this was the horse and the cart. And Helena recognizes that. I didn't get a screenshot of it, but Helena is like, "Hey, this is what I dreamed about." Like, she pauses, she looks at it, she's like, "What's going on here?" Um and yeah, she sees this horse, and it's not taking her to freedom, it's taking Massaria to freedom. And Massaria says, "Do not trust the queen." She tells her that Aegon and his dragon have returned. Now that he's alive, her baby will forever be a hostage, and Rhaenyra will never release her. Uh, which is, an interesting thing to say. There is some debate, like, is Massaria doing this to cause Helena to jump? And I don't know if I'd go that far. I do think she's trying to undermine Rhaenyra here. She's trying to basically, I mean, and she might genuinely be trying to warn Helena, because if we remember when Alicent and Helena were talking to Massaria, and Massaria agreed to keep the pregnancy secret, Alicent made the pitch to her like, "Hey, you can't fully trust Rhaenyra. It would be good if we owed you one. If the High Towers owed you one, you're in a better position." So I think that what she's saying here is like, hey, don't trust the queen. Here's what's going on. I'm going to tell you this because if the day ever comes where you do get out of this or where Rhaenyra loses, hopefully, you'll remember this. Hopefully we can still be cool even though Rhaenyra has fired me. That's what I take away, but there is some chance, I suppose, that she was trying to convince her to do something drastic, but I don't think so. I don't think that Massaria would like put the dots together that like telling her this would cause her to literally jump out the window. Um, but yeah. And yes, Jaehaera has a rough situation going on, absolutely. Um, and then yeah, I hope so. I don't think Darren died. I don't think he did. We didn't ever see his body. So I do think that assuming he survives to next season, maybe he will grow out his silver hair. Because yeah, I do agree he probably does have silver hair. Um yeah. Let's see. Let's see what chat's been saying. Oh, interesting question. Will Olinda now be against Rhaenyra? That I don't know. Um, Possibly. Like that would be interesting if she's now turning Olinda against her as well because of this. Um but yeah, it's an interesting question. Master of Whispers should know who the rider of Sheepstealer is. I mean, that's a hard thing to find out when you don't have spies in the middle of a cave in the Vale. It's a difficult thing, I think, to expect Massaria to figure out, but she knew Damon was lying. She clocked that pretty much right away. And I will say, like, Massaria has been getting a lot of hate for her performance in her job as Master of Whispers, but we have to remember the bar for this has been set incredibly high. Varys is insanely good at his job to the point where it's almost unrealistic how good of a spy master he is. And he's had at that point, like of the point of the main series, he's had what 30 years almost to build up a spy network, whereas Massaria has had like a couple years on the job. She had her spy network a little bit when she was, running her brothel or whatever. Um, so like she did have somewhat of a start as a spy network, but like she's only been in this job for a little while. It makes sense that she's not on full Varys level yet. Bloodraven, who's one of the other Master of Whispers that we know about, is literally like magical and can warg into animals to spy on whoever he wants. At least seemingly can. So, like Massaria, I do agree wasn't great at her job, but we can't hold her up against like Varys and Bloodraven and such. So yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. Did Helena have her dreams hacked? I don't know. I know it's interesting to wonder. This is always one of the big questions in this whole series is where do the dreams come from? And it is, I think, like there's basically two options. There are like magical god level forces in the universe that are sending these dreams out, or it is Green Seers and potentially future Bran or Bloodraven. Um, I think Damon seeing Bloodraven in his vision in season 2 kind of hints in that direction. And it will have to wait until Winds of Winter when we see Bran actually going out and manipulating. But I tend to think that the main thing that's going to be going on is Bran is going to be able to go back through time and send people dreams and visions. He's not going to do what he did to Hodor. I think Hodor is like the person who he's going to learn his lesson from when he breaks the agency of Hodor by genuinely trying to like take him over to do something, and that's going to break Hodor. And so Bran's gonna be like, okay, I can't do that to people. I need to find another way to push them into doing what I need them to set the table for me to win against the others, prevent the long night, save humanity, all that good stuff. So things like Daenerys the Dreamer getting her dream, which saves House Targaryen, will that eventually leads to Jon and Dany. Aegon getting his dream to go and conquer Westeros leads to the entire timeline that we have today, where again the Targaryens are ruling, so we have Jon and Dany. And Bran, like once he gets sort of the full view of everything, I think will uh, he'll have the ability to understand how the timeline needs to be manipulated, but he won't want to be going back and just fully taking over people, or, maybe he won't be able to, but I think Hodor kind of implies he would be able to if he wanted to. So what he and people like Bloodraven can do though is they can send dreams and visions. And maybe they can pepper people with enough dreams and visions to make them do the thing that they want. So last episode we saw Helena getting a bunch of dreams and visions of like, hey, if you stay and have this baby, it's going to be taken away from you. If you try to escape, you're going to have to burn a bunch of people. That's not going to be good. If you do escape and you get your ideal life, it's going to cause the long night to come. Uh, so basically, that is Bran or whoever is sending these dreams telling Helena, like, hey, the timeline is not going to allow you to escape. And that's an effective dream to send to someone if you want to get them to jump out a window, is like, hey, all the paths before you lead to either terrible things or even the worst thing possible, the end of humanity. And Helena in the end of season 2 met Daemon in the dream space and was like, hey, this is all a story. You know your part. You have to play your part. So Helena is aware that she has to play her part on some level. And yeah, I think that like if her dreams are being hacked, it is by Green Seers, possibly Bloodraven, possibly future Bran. So yeah, in a way, yes, I think there's a pretty good chance. But I don't know if that's even hacked or if that's just sent in the way that prophetic dreams in this world are sent. So yeah. Let's see. So this is interesting. I looked at the scene where Rhaenyra forces her to eat the soup, which I think we're coming up on. And in that scene, she's sewing the tapestry of Aemond at Harrenhal still, where he's in his little cocoon womb looking thing. So from that, at least, it looks like she had not yet been sewing her own falling from the tower. She seems to have sewn that after she was force-fed the soup and before she jumped. So, yeah. But the whole big tapestry she's been working on for quite a while. Um, and yeah, this is a good point. I guess Massaria maybe didn't understand that Helena's relationship with Aegon wasn't great. Because like, yeah, there is a world where telling someone like, "Hey, your husband is alive," would be good news to them. But for Helena, I don't think she necessarily cared. And hearing that, you know, he's alive and you're going to be a prisoner forever, that's mostly a negative for Helena. Um, so yeah, let's see. And yeah, I think Massaria, by telling her this, mostly was just trying to hurt Rhaenyra. I don't necessarily think that she was trying to cause Helena to do anything drastic, just purely to undermine Rhaenyra. Um, and yeah, like it is possible. I agree. It's possible that these green dreams do just come from some sort of outer source, but it seems pretty clear that Jojen's green dreams come from Bloodraven. It seems like, or I mean, maybe future Bran. It seems like the dreams that we see in the story mostly do come from the old gods or whatever. And like that's almost in a way more interesting depending on how George handles Bran, in my opinion, because like at that point it becomes sort of character agency from a different character. You know what I mean? Like it's not that they're just getting random dreams from literal gods. It is that Bran has ascended to godhood and is sending the dreams in order to try and play this like timeless game of chess across the ages to create the future in which the long night is winnable. which I think is what George is setting up for Bran. Um, so yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily I don't know if I would call it hacking or if it's just like the true nature of green dreams, but like them coming from the old gods who are people, who are humans, who are strapped to the trees, kind of feels more satisfying than them coming from the old gods who are like genuine gods that are not understandable and like full on like magical deities. Um but yeah, I don't know. I mean it could go either way for sure. Um but yes, let's see. Um let's see. Yes, Varys was the Varys of Spy Masters. He is in a class all his own. So yeah. Yeah, and Bloodraven also insanely good. Viserys didn't have a spy master, which I mean he apparently didn't necessarily need one because he was at peace, but man, like if he had a spy master even close to Varys level, they would have probably told him, "Hey, Otto is planning a coup, sire. Like half of your small council is planning to disrespect your wishes as soon as you die." So, that it may have helped in that regard. And yes, this is the other thing. Laris, who doesn't seem to have any magical power, at least in Hot D canon, is also better than Massaria so far. So yeah. Yeah, she's the worst spy master that we have seen, without a doubt. So yeah. Yeah, yeah. The Helena meme is great. I assume you're talking about the one where she's falling behind Rhaenyra. Little spoiler alert, that might be the last slide of the entire slideshow. Is the Helena AI meme that was making the rounds that a bunch of people thought was a legitimate like leak screenshot. I assume that's what you're talking about, and it is. I agree, very funny. Um, but okay. Let's I do love reading all the chats. There's so many, I'm going to have to scroll down. Oh man, we're gonna have to keep rolling here, but I will keep checking back on in with you guys. Um, but yeah, then we find Aemond at Harrenhal, and he's realizing and coming to grips with the fact that his mother has poisoned him, which can't feel great. Um, and then he's talking to Alice, and he's like, "Why do you even care? Like, I'm cursed. I'm a kinslayer. I should be alone because I don't want you to get involved in my being cursed. And, my fate should not be your fate. Just let me be alone." And she then opens up and tells him the story of who she is and why she's cursed. And she says that when Balerion burned the place to end Harren's line, there was one boy who survived, and his mother would do anything to bring him back. And she tried ancient magics, and she consorted with things in the forest, and in the end, none of it worked. So then she tried to go and die with him, and that's when she found out that she was cursed. For all of the magic that she had done and what she had dabbled into and whatever deals she made with presumably the Green Men, she was cursed to live on. And she was stripped of her name and her title, and she was forced to remain within the bounds of the River Kings of old and sentenced to serve every halfpenny lord who came to Harrenhal. And yeah, I think so. In the way it's said, she could be the wife of one of Harren's sons. She could, be in some way related other than being his direct wife. What I was told, and I haven't confirmed this, is that like in a podcast or something, they confirmed that no, she is the queen of Harren the Black. She was Harren's wife. So yeah, she apparently, at least in House of the Dragon canon, is a cursed, grief-stricken mother who has been cursed to live on and stay within Harrenhal. As I pointed out in a video that came out yesterday or the day before, I think yesterday. Uh, think yesterday. Either way, my most recent video, I pointed out that is very Lady Stoneheart coded, like this grief-stricken mother who is now sustained by magical life. Um, it's an interesting parallel for sure. Um, and yeah, it is cool. Um, it is very cool. So yeah, and Aemon's face is just like, oh my god. But you know, we love our supportive boyfriends here. We support our women when it turns out that your girlfriend is 100 years older than you thought she was, and also cursed by dark magic. You don't abandon her, right? You got to you got to stick by your woman, even if she may have misled you about her age and maybe cursed to a horrible eternal fate. That doesn't mean you got to dump her, right? Right? Thank you very much. Yeah, so we don't know exactly how long we'll have to wait for the release of season 4, but it is probably going to be about 2 years. As far as I know, they don't even have it like filming yet. Which is unfortunate. That's like by far my biggest complaint about this show is how long it takes in between seasons, and the fact that they don't even like I don't know, it feels like they didn't have the confidence in the show to renew it and just, like, go from one season to the next, right? Like, season 1 happened, they waited to see how season 1 was received before they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna go film season 2." And I kind of get that, because after, the last seasons of Game of Thrones and the backlash, they didn't know if there was gonna be, like, is everyone gonna come back? Are people gonna be so pissed about season 8 that they don't come back? And, then it was a hit. Season 1 was great. So they're like, "Okay, we're doing season 2." And then they filmed and released season 2, and they didn't even start filming season 3 until well after season 2 had aired and finished. And now, like, as far as I know, they haven't started filming season 4 yet. So it's gonna be a while. Um, but that is yeah, that is a big complaint that I have. Unfortunately, it's gonna be a couple years, but at least now we have Dunk and Egg to hold us over. So there is that. But thank you very much for the support. It is appreciated. Um, but yeah. And yeah, I doubt there is a hard magical reason that will explain this Alice Rivers immortality. Like the Green Seers, I think there is a genuine reason. Like they are strapped into the roots. Those roots are full of blood from years and millennia of human sacrifice. And that blood and the magic contained within the human sacrifice flows through the Weirwoods into the Green Seers' bodies and keeps them alive. But yeah, this feels a little bit more like mysterious in a way that we're probably not going to find out, like the direct, like A plus B equals immortal life for Alice Rivers. Like I don't think we're gonna get the explanation. Um, yes, it was cute when like, and she sort of had a reaction to it later on when he called her his betrothed, like, oh, he's not breaking up with me, even though I'm 100 years older than I told him or than he thought, and I'm like cursed by dark magic. My man's sticking with me. Yeah, that was very adorable. And I did see plenty of jokes in the aftermath to this where it's just like, oh, he found out now he can get the oldest mom in the entire realm. He's super jacked about that. That is very fitting for his type, certainly. And also I did notice like so he obviously has his mommy issues, right? And it is interesting that Alice Rivers and Alicent both had a son who was burned by dragonfire. And Alicent did want to save Aegon. Like she was hoping Aegon would live for at least a while. Like she was crying at his bedside. But then also she did agree to kill Aegon. So like the contrast between these two women of Alice Rivers who had her son burned by dragonfire 100+ years later is still crying when she thinks about it. Whereas Alicent had her son burned by dragonfire and she's like, well, if I need to kill him to make peace, I guess I will. Um, so like yeah, Aemond is maybe he might be genuinely jacked to have the oldest mommy in the realm, but also like the contrast between the love that Alice has for her son and presumably the people around her compared to Alicent is it's an interesting contrast um considering the situations are so similar. Um so yeah, then Rhaenyra goes to talk to Helena and she asks or she tells her to think about the baby. She says like, "Hey, you need to eat, think about the baby." And Helena's like, "Oh, you're thinking about him now too?" Cuz she's worried that Rhaenyra is going to kill him. And Rhaenyra's response kind of confirms the worry. She's like, "Oh, it's a boy? Do you know this? Like, have you seen this in a dream? Are we confirming that this is a male? Cuz if it's a male, I need to know that." Um so yeah, it is an interesting, like, probably this is the wrong response from Rhaenyra saying, "Oh, it's a boy? Do you know this?" Like that just confirms for Helena her worst fear in that moment. And Rhaenyra says, "You know I would never harm you." And Helena drops another banger of a line where she says, "Do you think life is nothing more than not being dead?" Basically being like, "Hey, I'm alive, but you're destroying my life. Like me living here in prison as a hostage where I get to go into the Godswood for like an hour every few days is not a life. Like there's no such thing as a life for me being your prisoner forever with my son as a threat to your throne forever. Like this is this is no life for me." And then she says, "Our father would hate you for this." And Rhaenyra is like trying to tell her like, "Oh, I tried to be like Viserys, and if I'm like Viserys, it's going to destroy the realm. Like I tried my best to live in our father's image, and it will destroy everything." And Helena just ignores her and starts talking about beetles. Um, and she says that there's a beetle that emerges in the cusp of summer, and she describes all of its colors and that it looks like a turtle and says that it sustains itself on the waste of other creatures and that you can only find it in King's Landing and that it's beautiful. And Helena loves her bugs. Um, I did laugh like this is the House of the Dragon writing team taking a shot at D&D. They're like, this is how you do beetle based character development in a moment before death. Like stupid Orson Lannister smashing the beetle scene D&D. This is how you do a beetle scene. Which I do have to wonder if this was on purpose, where they're actually just like, you know what? We're going to do a dramatic scene where this character is, you know, facing death later on in the episode, and we're going to have her talk about Beatles, and we're going to make it good, actually. Um, but so she says that uh, the Beatles are beautiful, and Rhaenyra's like, "Oh, all right. Well, when summer comes, you'll have to show me." And Helena says, "You don't really care about the Beatles, do you? You're just pretending. All of the things that you care about are ugly. This place is ugly. You yourself are ugly." And Rhaenyra is pissed about that. She's just like not amused at all, being called ugly to her face. And yeah, she tells Helena to eat. And then um yeah, this is a good point. Like Rhaenyra probably could understand Helena a little bit more. But I think Rhaenyra just like a big theme of this season is Rhaenyra has so much on her plate that like she is making the wrong decision at almost every turn, including her handling, of course, of Helena. Um, and yeah, it like if the young Rhaenyra, who wants nothing more than to eat cake and fly on dragonback, was still there in any way, this would have gone differently. But yeah, unfortunately, Rhaenyra has been completely changed by power and grief, and her view that like the fate of the world requires her to maintain the crown all of that is, not great for the mentals of Rhaenyra. And yeah, yeah. Let's see. Let's um this is a good point as well. Rhaenyra learned from Vizzy T how to not pay attention to his children and how to ignore the real problems. Yeah, yeah. Rhaenyra's just like, I've been trying to act like Viserys, so I've been ignoring you, Helena, my entire life. I was trying to be like Dad and not say a word to you. But that didn't work. So now I'm gonna ask you, can you tell me about your prophecies? Tell me if I'm going to win the war. Yeah, no, that is a very good point. That is a very good point. Um, well, thank you very much for the super chat and the question. Do you think Alice is canon? Do you believe the Alice Blackfire line for HBO rumors? How do you think season 4 will go? Are you happy with Hot D? I struggle on whether or not Alice is canon. It in a way thematically makes sense with George's world. He views immortality as a curse and a prison. I think that's something I've talked about quite a bit. I think it's clear in the case of like the House of the Undying, where they have this immortality that you think they're going to be these glorious wizard godlike beings, and then Daenerys sees that and she has to realize, oh, there's one more door that I can take. And then she gets into the actual Chamber of the Undying, where there's just these like shades that are barely there, just sitting around a table, sort of trapped in this very boring immortality. Um, and the green seers are like fading away into the trees, but they're immortal husks that are like held there alive, but can barely do anything, can't even open their mouth to say something to Bran as he walks past. And Bran thinks about how he doesn't want to go on long after his friends are gone. So the idea of immortality as a curse, I think, tracks really well. Lady Stoneheart being brought back from the dead, of course, is a horrible thing. Uh, so, like, in that respect, if it's not George canon, it is um it is something that would fit in his canon. Now, George, I think, was on better, even very good terms with the House of the Dragon writing team at the beginning of season 2, if you remember. And because Alice Rivers was, of course, established as a character during season 2. Before season 2, he was taking pictures at the Harrenhal Weirwood with Ryan Condal. The Harrenhal Weirwood has George R. R. Martin's face. The face on the Weirwood is George's. He would have been in full contact with Ryan Condal when he was establishing Alice Rivers. So Ryan could have straight up asked George, who is Alice Rivers, so that we know for an eventual reveal. Um, so like with that timeline in mind, it makes sense that George would have told them who he thinks Alice Rivers is. If they would have done that or not, I don't know. Or if they would have made up something else on their own. But like either way, when Alice Rivers was established as a character, George R. R. Martin would have been in a place to have input about that. So I think there's a chance it's canon. But like there's not directly like a method within his world building that's been established that would make sense for her to live on in this way, other than I guess what happened to Beric Dondarrion and Lady Stoneheart, but that comes like directly from the Kiss of Life from R'hllor. But like maybe there is something that is behind the scenes. There could be ways that the Green Men could tie someone to immortality that we just haven't seen yet. So like 50-50. Maybe it's a bit of a cop out answer, but like I'd have to think about it more to feel more firmly about it one way or the other. I think there's a real chance that it is canon, but it could also be completely made up. So that's my take on Alice Rivers as canon. Thematically, it fits. Canon, it's a coin flip. Do I believe the Blackfire line rumors from HBO? I've seen one comment I think about these rumors, and that was that the idea is Alice Rivers and Aemond would have a child who would eventually lead to the Blackfire line. I don't believe that at all. I don't think that makes any sense. I think that is likely to be a thing. Like, there were so many leaks that were just straight up made up. Um, throughout. I mean, that always happens, but like especially with the finale, it felt like there was just a ton of fake leaks that a bunch of people were complaining about. Oh my god, I can't believe Massaria is gonna push Helena out the window. Like that was one that I saw. Like there's a bunch of people complaining about a bunch of leaks that ended up being fake. And this one I think is probably fake as well because we know where the Blackfires come from. It's very directly like we know exactly where the Blackfires come from, and changing it would actively just completely mess up the whole story, right? Like the point is Daemon Blackfire was the bastard of the king, and he's given Blackfire and legitimized. Like I don't see any world in which you could change the Blackfire line in the way that that rumor was claiming. So I'd put that at like less than 1% chance of that being true at all. So yeah, that one, no, I don't believe that. How do I think season 4 will go? Hopefully really good. I talked about it a little at the beginning, but it's going to be a rush to the finish if they only have 8 episodes. And that could go either good or bad. I think we saw a rush to the finish at the end of Game of Thrones, and that wasn't good. Um, but in theory, you could also have a rush to the finish where it's just like, dang, every episode feels like a season finale. Every episode could end on a massive event. And if we get like 8 straight bangers of episodes that just all have crazy things going on, it could be one of the best seasons of Thrones ever. Like it could be a genuinely phenomenal season if it doesn't feel horribly rushed. Um so I'm optimistic. I'm really optimistic for season 4. If HBO is listening, which they probably are not, give them as many episodes of season 4 as it would take to finish this right and like stick the landing. If you stick the landing, I think the show's going to be really rewatchable. All of the season 2 problems I think were mostly fixed on a rewatch with season 3 coming. Um the biggest problem with the entire show is the 2-year wait between seasons. If season 4 is good, once it's all done, the whole show is just going to be out and you can just re-binge the whole thing and I think it'll be great, which kind of answers the last question. I think I am happy with House of the Dragon. I like it a lot. Um I've seen a lot of complaints. I disagree with most of them. Um, it's a really good show. If you want to look at how adaptations, like what an actually horrible adaptation looks like, look at Netflix's Avatar. I watched season 1 and oh boy, it was not great. I've heard things about season 2 and it sounds worse. I will probably watch it at some point, but I don't feel any interest in watching it because it doesn't seem like they're handling it well. House of the Dragon may not be like a one-to-one adaptation of Fire and Blood. They're changing a lot of things, but they're handling it well. They're doing a good job in my opinion. So yeah. It's I'm happy with it. But thank you for the super chat. Um yeah. Oh yeah, this is an interesting like an interesting comparison, the way that Rhaenyra is taking criticism from people like Baela and Helena versus Aegon, who's actually listening and changing his behavior after Larys called him out. That is a good point. That is a good point. Um, but okay, I do have to scroll on. I'm sorry if you had a very good comment in chat. I will try to keep popping in and out of chat, but there are a lot of you here, and I do appreciate it. Um, but yeah, if I read every chat comment, we will be here for like 5 hours. So, uh, yeah. So she tells Helena to eat, and then she stew boards Helena. She waterboards her with big cups of stew, and it is awful. It's not what you want to do, Rhaenyra. Not a good idea. Um, so yeah. Uh, and as I said, like she is embroidering in this scene. I don't think I have a screenshot of it here. She is embroidering on the scene of Aemond at Harrenhal. So either she hasn't started the next scene yet of her jumping from the tower, or she's like going back and forth. I don't know how embroidery is usually done, but I assume she is like embroidering in order. So yeah, I assume she has not yet started the scene of her jumping, and perhaps we are meant to think that this treatment was a major contributing factor in that decision, in addition to the dreams that she was having, in addition to what she was told by Masaria, in addition to the fact that her entire life is collapsing and she's in an inescapable prison, and it's all going to be horrible for her, no matter what path she takes. So yeah, uh, Helena is waterboarded with some stew. Then we get Adam saying to Alan, like, hey, Rhaenyra is on a really dark path. She's grounded Bela and confined her to the keep. And Alan is just like, I'm just trying to do my job. It's not my place to question the queen. And he's like, why would you? She is raising you up in our father's place as soon as he meets the High Tower gallows. Like, you know our father's going to be killed, and you're just trying to get on the good side so you can take her place. He says a glorious ascent for a bastard, which like is weird because when we met these two, Alan was all about just doing his duty, which is what he's still doing. And Adam was the one who's like, hey, we should try to rise high. Like, we may be bastards, but we're like, you know, we're Corlys's bastards. We should raise up. We should like take advantage of this and try to rise high in the world. And now he's just kind of shitting on his brother for doing the thing that he wanted to do. So yeah, yes, I do agree. It is probably projecting. Um, and yes, he did steal his girl, his work crush, who he's been out working a job with, chasing down Vagar for a while. Uh, he uh, he is maybe a little bit mad about that as well. I agree. It is projecting and or the jealousy or some combination of all of that. Um, so yeah, then uh, Darren and Gwaine looking out at the giant army that's clearly going to overwhelm them, and he's just like, "How are we supposed to fight against all of this?" And Gwaine says, "Bravely and pointlessly." Um, then Ormond finds out that Ulf is missing, which is not what you want to find out, as the army is literally gathering outside of your gates. And also, oh yeah, we get this great scene where he finds this out. He sends them to look for Ulf, and then this dude is like trying to gather some equipment from right next to him, and he freaks out at him. He's like, "Get away from me!" Which was very very funny. Um, then yeah, we get this scene of Darren and Gwaine just looking horrified as these like 8-year-old children are begging, "Please, sir, we don't want to fight. I just want to go home to my mom. Don't make us fight." And like Darren is realizing this is all for him. Gwaine is horrified. Like they can't even look. It's not great. It's not great. Um let's see. Um and yeah, he says all these men, these boys, they're here for me. He wants to go out and fight with his dragon, and Gwaine is trying to tell him like, "Bro, don't do that. You're going to die." Um it it is literally not a winnable fight. Your dragon is small. He has a young dragon. Paraxes is out there. Silverwing is out there as far as these two know on the opposite side. Like uh it's it's not great. It's not a great like there's no path to victory as far as these two can see. And Darren going and throwing away his life on Tessarion isn't going to change that. Um and so yeah, there comes in Caraxes. I love the scene of the whole army cheering as Caraxes flies in for his glamour shot. So yeah, no, that I mean, and also like that's got to feel great, right? Like if you're putting yourself in the position of a medieval soldier who's about to have to storm a city, and then Caraxes flies over and is on your side. Like, yeah, that's got to be a good feeling, and I think they did a good job of capturing that in this scene. Very pretty dragon, and yeah, it's that's exactly what I would want on my side if I were about to fight a medieval battle. I would feel very I would feel very enthused by that. Um, and then we get another good shot of Caraxes flying over Tumbleton to intimidate them all as Ormond screams for Ulf, is running through the streets, checking every bar in the city, trying to find him. Yeah, it is great. And then this is also a very funny scene. They walk in and Corlys is like, "Oh, and now Lord Ormond's boy king and his faithful squire." And Gwain's like, "Shut up. Listen, here's what I'm gonna do. We're going to try and make you a deal." And Corlys is like, "I don't care about your deal. I'm not selling my honor for a bit of Hightower coin. My honor's all I have left." And Gwain's like, "Okay, we'll do this the hard way." And he pulls out a knife. And this is funny because later on we find out that apparently the hard way is I'm going to take you out alone, surrounded by the people who are on your side, and then release you and hope for the best. The hard Gwaine playing hardball is I'm going to free the hostage and get choked out by Daemon, which is hilarious, but also like, you know, probably the best bet that they have to actually avoid this war. So good for him. If it were anyone but Daemon in command, it might have worked. But we'll get to that scene later because it is very funny. Um, and yeah, so I don't know how many people were on the exact same page this whole time, but like this scene was one of the things that they put out in trailers a long time ago. It basically this exact screenshot, and everyone that I saw talking about it thought that this thing behind him here was a coffin and that this was a funeral procession. And with how sad he looks, it looks like it's a funeral procession of someone close to him. I think they absolutely baited all of us, like successfully. Um, because when Corlys got captured, I'm sitting there like, oh dang, they actually killing off Corlys? I didn't think they would kill off Corlys at Tumbleton. Um, Now that he didn't die at Tumbleton, I can say without spoilers, he doesn't die at Tumbleton in the book. So this would have been a big change for Corlys dying by being captured by John Roxton and killed by Ormond. But like knowing that Corlys got captured and then having seen this scene in the trailer, it was like a lot of people were like, "Oh, they're changing Corlys's death. Like Corlys is getting killed off early." And I kind of was like, "Oh dang, is Corlys getting killed off early?" And so yeah, they uh, well done HBO, successfully baited me and everyone else into being very worried about Corlys. Even as a book reader, like we would not have been worried about him, and I think a lot of us were. So yeah, this was a very particularly well done shot, in my opinion. But no, it turns out this is not a funeral procession. They are carrying Rhaenyra and Joffrey to the Sept in a little human held carriage thing. Um, I don't know what the exact word is for it, but yeah. So not a funeral procession, as many people thought. Um, and Joffrey, we get our first scene of Joffrey awake this season, and she's telling him, "Joffrey, you're now my heir, and here's the thing, bud, the world is going to end. There's this apocalypse coming, and we have to stop it," which is a lot for an 8-year-old. So she tells him that, and he's just got like this like stare of like, I don't know what to do about this, mom. Um, but yeah. She says, "You're now my heir, Joffrey." And she tells him about the Song of Ice and Fire, and he's just like, "Okay, all right, I guess." And we'll talk about it later on, but I do love like the amount of focus that they put on Joffrey later on during the scene with the High Septon, because they keep cutting to Joffrey and showing that like he's clearly being traumatized by this whole thing. And yes, he looks very terrified. I mean, think about it. Your older brothers have died in this war. You're the heir now. Your mom has been somewhat avoiding you for a little while. And now that you're on the way to the coronation, she's made you dress up. She's made you wear this little crown. And on the way, she's telling you, like, hey, we're doing this so that the world doesn't end. There's incredible magical apocalyptic threats, and it's our job to stop them. And yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Um, then we're back at Tumbleton, and they talk about how Kristen Cole delayed them, and Damon has a funny line where he's just like, "Oh, it's so easy to forget about him. Do tell me how he died." And they say badly, which Damon is happy about. And this is funny, like this whole scene is paying off a lot of stuff from season 1, episode 1, because Damon, of course, fought Kristen Cole and had to yield to him in the tournament. In the first tilt of the tournament, he picked Gwaine Hightower. If you remember, Gwaine and Damon jousted in episode 1 in the tourney. Gwaine's actor wasn't cast yet, so he just had a big Hightower helmet on. But yeah, Gwaine straight up, he got picked because he was Otto's son, and Damon wanted to mess with Otto. But like when he meets up with Gwaine Hightower again here, he's just like, oh yeah, Otto's kid, that little shit. Like they have a history. So yeah. Then they meet here and he's just like walked out and he's presented Corlys, but he's got a dagger to his side, and Roddy the Ruin's just like, oh, can I kill him? And Damon's just like, no, not yet. So yeah, this was a very funny scene. And then basically Gwaine and Darren's offer is to divide the realm. Let Darren rule from Old Town. He can be king of the Reach, and I presume the Westerlands and maybe the Stormlands, who seem to be roughly more or less on his side. The Stormlands are playing both sides. They haven't committed their army either way yet. But basically, it seems like the plan is Darren be the king from Old Town, king of the Reach and the West. Rhaenyra, and he specifically says the North, the Vale, all the lands watered by the Trident. So, like, Rhaenyra is getting the Crown lands, the Vale, the Riverlands, the North. The Stormlands were not mentioned, so presumably they may go to Darren. Either way, it was clearly not gonna work with Daemon. And so he's saying, let Darren be king, divide the realm, and Corlys steps up, and it's funny to see like Gwaine being like, "Oh shoot, my hostage is negotiating terms. I didn't agree to this." It kind of reminded me hilariously of Grey Worm in the last episode of Game of Thrones, where he brings Tyrion there as a hostage, and Tyrion ends up deciding who is going to be the king, and like Grey Worm just has to sit there and take it. But not as comedically nonsensical as that. This was just very funny because Gwaine walks out here. He's completely surrounded. He has no actual power. And Corlys just like oversteps him and starts negotiating on his behalf, basically. So, yeah, this was very funny. And yeah. Yeah, Gwaine doesn't have a plan, but he is also like it is the best plan that they could come up with given the circumstances, right? Like they're put in a horrible no-win situation. He's trying to salvage it in some way. So Corlys says that like, hey, there are still great houses who hold to the precedent set by the Great Council that no woman can rule. And Damon's like, bro, it was your wife who was passed over, not all women forever. Rhaenyra has taken the throne with 6 dragons. Like her rule is absolute. Um, and Corlys is telling him like, just let Darren be the Lord of the Reach. Like, let him give Darren Old Town, make him Lord Paramount of the Reach. And Gwaine's like, that's not what I was offering. And both of them just give him this look like, who, like, why do you think you have any power here, bro? And they go back to negotiating their own terms. All of that is just hilarious to me. Like Gwaine attempting to hold on to the tiny little bit of bargaining power that he thinks he might have here and just being completely ignored. Very funny. So yeah, he says that wasn't what I was offering. They both just glare at him and then go back to negotiating. Um, and so yeah, Corlys says just wed Darren to Rhaena, mend your houses, create this new alliance. Like, you guys can create this alliance against Aegon and Aemond, who Daemon tells them are still alive. And Daemon is then mad at Corlys because he's just like, oh, so you're here negotiating on his behalf, trying to save Darren's life. And he asks what price the Boy King has offered you for fealty. He calls him a coward and a traitor. And Corlys is just like, listen, dude, I'm not switching sides. I just think that, like, Rhaenyra's going to win no matter what. You don't have to kill these thousands of people. Like, he says, there are two paths before you. You just have to, like, both of them, there are two paths before you. Both of them lead to Rhaenyra on the throne. Now you just have to decide if you want the easy victory or if you want a mountain of dead high towers. And Daemon's like, what do you think? Like, obviously, I want a mountain of dead high towers. That's the entire reason I'm here. Which is hilarious. And Gwaine is like, you're going to just throw away thousands of lives for no reason? We're offering you peace. And Daemon grabs him and chokes him out. He's just like, listen, you're Otto's kid. I don't respect you. In fact, I hate you just because I hated your dad. So I'm going to choke you out real quick. And he yells at him about how he's going to kill all the traitors and mount their heads on spikes. And a new Valyria will rise from the ashes. And then he says, you came to me under a banner of peace, so you get to decide if you want to die here and now or die behind those walls. And then he sends him back. This whole scene was phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed this one. Um, let's see. I doubt it. I doubt Corlys has any idea. He definitely doesn't. Because, like, I don't even know if Team Green has any idea about Sheep Stealer, right? Like, they just found out that Aegon was back. Granted, the Sheep Stealer stuff was a little bit older news than that, but I don't think they've been getting news about things like that. Um, so yeah, I don't think so. And yeah, it is up in the air whether Reyna still has Sheep Stealer or not. Sheep Stealer was horribly wounded. Maybe will die off camera, but maybe Sheep Stealer's coming back in season 4. So I don't really know. I don't really know. I don't even really view Corlys as anything Corlys did as that treasonous. Like, he's just he he literally took the terms that Gwaine was offering and is just like, ignore those. What if we did this, Daemon? What if, like, he basically turned this negotiation between Team Green and Team Black into, like, a Team Black strategy session. He's just like, okay, like, obviously we're not doing what that idiot thinks, but what if we did this? Like, what if we made peace on these terms that we're deciding on? Um, so yeah, I don't think he's like I don't think he is doing any treason here. Um, and yeah, he is kind of the only adult in the room. And yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah. Yeah, Corlys is just trying to save lives. So, and yeah, Daemon doesn't care about saving lives or much at all. He wants to fight and conquer. He wants to kill his enemies, put their heads on spikes, all that stuff. That is Daemon's motivations here. Um, but yeah, no, this is a very funny scene. Like, Daemon again just being offered easy victory or a mountain of dead high towers. What do you want, Daemon? He's like, what do you think I want? Do you know me at all? So yeah, that was great. That was great. Um, then yeah, we get this phenomenal scene of Aegon arriving at Harrenhal. Aemond wakes up. He hears dragon wings. He thinks maybe Vhagar has returned from him, but no, it is Sunfire and his brother. Which he thinks, oh no, is this a crazy vision? I've been having horrible dreams, being haunted by my brother. He absolutely thinks that it's a vision right up until Aegon slaps him, I'm pretty sure. I imagine that's the moment in which he realizes that it's real. And with like the best line delivery of the episode, Aegon says, "I'm alive, imbecile." So yeah, that is great. It is great. Like, yeah, the way "I'm alive," the way that it like echoes through Harrenhal, and yeah, he says it, yeah, just so good, so good, like phenomenally done. Um, and yeah, they did kind of. I didn't get any screenshots of it, but they did take Aegon into account in in the negotiations. Daemon tells them Aegon's alive, and he's like, "Oh, was that news to you?" So sad to see brother set against brother. So like, he basically tells him like, "Hey, your plan to crown Darren isn't gonna work anyway. The only reason you tried to crown him is because his older brothers were dead or missing, and both of them are back now." Uh, so he basically he's telling Gwaine in even another way, like, A, you guys are about to lose this battle anyway, and B, it's pointless because Darren is third in line, and you thought Aegon was dead, but he's not. So like there's no world in which Darren is gonna be the king. Ormond, I don't think, has any idea about Aegon. I think he probably died believing Aegon was dead. Alicent sent him a letter pretending it was from Aemond earlier on, saying that Aegon was dead. So yeah, it's it is unlikely, I think, that Ormond ever figured it out. Um, and did they know about Cole's death? I don't know. They may have found out, but either way, they knew that the army that Cole was attacking did finally get there. So, yeah, it's Daemon. I think Daemon probably knew Cole was dead because he says, "How did he die?" Not, "Is he dead?" But he asks. They don't. I don't think they know any of the details. I think they just knew. Okay, Cole. We killed Cole and his men. We're free to march now. I'm pretty sure is probably all they knew. Um, but yeah, so Aegon uh comes here to yell at his brother, and he says, "I beg for your forgiveness." And Aegon's like, "I should split you in half. I should have Sunfire burn you, but slowly, so I can see your skin blister and peel." Basically, he wants to do to him exactly what Aemond did to him. And then Aemond is just like sitting there begging for forgiveness, and Aegon's like, "No, no, 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 no! I was supposed to enjoy this. What's wrong with you? Fight me!" He spreads his arm and yells at him, "Fight me! I want to kill you in a fight. I don't want you to be begging for my forgiveness. Like, what's wrong with you, man?" And yeah, it's uh, it's a great scene, like absolutely phenomenal. Um, and then Aegon pulls out his sword and he's like, "Do you even know what's going on out there? They called me dead, you disappeared, that little twat Darren decided he should be king, and like that's wrong. Darren was crowned by Ormond, but Aegon doesn't know that. But also, with everything that they know, like with Aegon being dead and Aemond being just disappeared, it's not that unreasonable for Darren to decide he should be king. Like, even if Darren had decided that, Aegon's anger about it isn't quite justified, right? Um, because like no, like if their claim was the legitimate one, Darren actually should be third in line, and behind these two who were presumed dead. So yeah, but either way, Aegon is like, "You know what we're gonna do? We are going to get all of these. I'm getting my brothers together. I'm bringing my brothers back on side with our three dragons. We're all fighting for me to put me on the throne, the way we should have all been united in the beginning. We're going to put that shitheel Ormond in line," is what he says. "We're going to Tumbleton. We're putting Darren and Ormond in line, and then all of us are going to fly and take King's Landing together." So that is the plan. Um, and Aemond is just like, Aemond. I love this whole scene because like Aemond has been like he spent the whole season basically being tortured about what he did to his brother. He's been sleeping in the Weirwood bed, haunted constantly in his dreams by the fact that he's a kinslayer and he tried to kill his brother and usurp his throne. And yeah, he's just like fully undergone, like, this is our confirmation that he has actually undergone real character growth. He is like genuinely regretting that he was such a bad person. And yeah, it's great to see. It's great to see him like actually have like, I didn't know what they were gonna do, right? I didn't know how they were gonna do his Harrenhal arc at the beginning of the season, because he was like, Damon at least had some redeeming qualities. Aemond really didn't. Aemond was like a cartoon villain. And yeah, they managed to pull it off. They managed to make him like actually become a little bit of a better person, which I think is really cool. I think they did it well, and they didn't need to show us all of his dreams. They just had him like sleeping, and we hear Aegon's voice in the dreams. Like, we know essentially more or less what he was dreaming about because we saw it with Damon last season. So yeah, I think they handled his arc pretty well. Oh, hey, David Lightbringer in chat. Yes, yes, he called Ormond a shitheel, and that was a very good term for Ormond. Absolutely. um. So yeah, he. I didn't get a shot of it, but yeah, Alice Rivers also comes out here, and he's just like, "Who is that woman?" And Aemon's like, "That's my betrothed." And he's like, "You have a betrothed now?" And she's like, "Older than our mom." Like, what's going on here? But he's like, "Okay, whatever. What we're gonna do is we're all gonna go fly and find Vhagar. Then when you get your dragon, we're both flying to Tumbleton. We're putting Darren and Ormond in line. Then we're taking King's Landing." Like, he's just taking charge and taking over his side of the war, his faction. He's getting them all in line, and that should be interesting to see. Some good setup for next season for sure. Um, then yeah, this is like my other behind I'm Alive. This is the other contender for the line of the episode, in my opinion. Uh, Damon is explaining to him like, okay, well, so first of all, the plan is to roast the guards on the top of the walls with Caraxes to get the gate open. And then they find out that Ormond has put children on the front lines above the gate. So Damon's like, shoot, I don't want to just roast all of the children of Tumbleton in my attempt to get the gate open. So he then changes the plan and tells the Northmen, like, okay, instead, you guys storm the wall and open the gates for us, but don't die until the gate is open. And he goes, aye, gate open, then die, which is very funny. Another very good line read and very good little joke going on here. And so yeah, it is great. It is great. And so yeah, then uh this, like, as I said, this scene, I think they did such a good job focusing so much on Joffrey. Um so when the High Septon is being yelled at, they keep cutting to Joffrey, and he's just got this 1,000-yard stare. Like, as we remember, on the ride here, his mom has just told him, like, hey, the world is ending, and it's our responsibility to stop the apocalypse. We are destined to stop the apocalypse and save all of the world. And he's like, okay, I guess I don't know what to do with that. I'm 8, but I'll try my best, I guess. And then uh she takes him to meet the Pope, and the Pope is like, listen, the gods have not chosen you to rule. And she's just like, actually, you don't get to decide that. Like, we answer to higher gods than you. And she tells Alan to kill him. And he says to harm me is to declare war on the starry sept itself. And he says we stand on sacred ground. And again, as I said, like, as they're walking away, it keeps cutting to Joffrey looking back and watching what's going on. Rhaenyra is just walking away, doesn't care to watch. Um, and again, you see in the background, Joffrey is watching the entire time as the Pope gets stabbed by Alan on his mother's orders. Definitely traumatizing, and also some like a little bit of callback to Bran in episode 1, like in chapter 1 of the books, like an 8-year-old kid watching an execution so that he can be prepared to rule one day. It is definitely similar vibes for sure. But a little bit crazier perhaps because there is no like not even a little show trial. It's not Rhaenyra's sworn duty to execute the Pope if he doesn't do what you want, the way that it is with Ned to execute a deserter. Like, this is not a lawful execution in the way that the one Bran watched is, which is the big difference. But yeah, um, Joffrey, this whole time is just eyes glued to the High Septon being stabbed. And even as they walk out the door, Rhaenyra is just straight up walking away, Joffrey looking back. Um, as I said, just very good, very good. Um, and Alan, he hesitated to kill the High Septon. He was told he would damn his soul to the darkest of the seven hells. And he paused and he didn't necessarily want to go through with it. And then Rhaenyra is just like, "Hey, you're Valyrian. You're the blood of old Valyria. We answer to higher gods than theirs. Like, don't worry, buddy. You're going to Valyrian Valhalla. You don't have to worry about the seven heavens, seven hells, whatever. Just do it." And he does it, and he seems to regret it. He hesitated. He doesn't look like he's very sure of what he's just done, but he's in too deep to go any other way at this point. Um, and yes, like I do love Rhaenyra doing the like Valyrian like eye makeup where she looks like her eyes have been like scratched by like dragons or something. Um, so yeah, it is. Rhaenyra is in her full like evil arc. Um, And I think this is obviously intentional from the show, right? Like people were complaining about how they whitewashed Rhaenyra a lot earlier on, especially in season 2. But I think that it is like a very clear effort by the show to demonize the people who currently hold the throne, and then show like Rhaenyra's like not growth, but like her fall into being a worse person when she takes power. The desire for power, the effort to take the power, and then what is required to hold the power makes her into a worse person. And I think that's more effective if you show that she was a good person before. I think it more effectively communicates what power has done to her. So yeah, she is like fully completing that arc this episode. Like this is the culmination of that. We talked about it with her firing Massaria, that she has like kicked the angel off of her shoulder. She's fully going with the demon on her shoulder. She is like she's picked a side now. And yeah, I'm guessing the consequences of that will hit hard in season 4 for sure. Um and yes, Estella Graves did already do a good cosplay with the with the Rhaenyra eye makeup and the crown and all of that. I did see that as a short today. That was pretty good. Um, but yes, yes, yeah. Alinda Massey working hard on that Valyrian makeup. She's just like doing Rhaenyra's makeup, and Rhaenyra's like, "Do a crazy dragon claw mark on each eye," and Alinda's like, "What?" She's just like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Like make it look like my eyelids have been scratched by dragon claws on each eye. And Linda's like, "Are you sure about that, Your Grace?" She's like, "Yes, I'm positive, actually. Put on my armor and give me dragon scratches on my eyelids." And Linda's like, "Oh, okay, whatever you say." Um, so yeah. Then we get Rhaenyra coming out and giving a speech to all of these small folk who have, let's remember, been starving all season. Like been starving for like 2 seasons actually. They just kind of want like peace and stability, and also they think that her opponent in this race has just come back from the dead like freaking Jesus Christ, and she's just talking about prophecy. She's yelling at them about how the apocalypse is coming if she isn't made the queen. She's just like, "My reign was prophesied before Viserys was even born. before Aegon the Conqueror was born, because there is a threat that looms in the far north, beyond the wall, beyond the lands of winter. And freaking Torrin Manderly's like, you guys hearing this? Like, he's giving the side eye to Orwyle, and Orwyle gives him a look like, you guys hearing? This was not the speech that we wrote for her. She's going off script, and this isn't going to go well. Uh, and yeah, Orwyle and I just love this look. Orwyle and Torrin Manderly. But then again, we cut to Joffrey, and he's just having to stone face this as she talks about how the prophecy of the end times was passed on from generation to generation, and how only dragons can stop it. And she says that the Hightower line cannot fulfill this prophecy because they don't have enough dragons. Which it's like all three of their claimants do have a dragon, Rhaenyra. So I don't know, what you're talking about there, but it is kind of a thing that the other side does have dragons. But anyway, she says that if the world is to survive, I must light the way. And yeah, that's a heck of a sales pitch to make to these people. We talked about this on David's stream a little bit afterwards of like, this is what prophecy does to you. It makes you look crazy. Like, we have been along every step of this with Rhaenyra. Like, she the entire time has known about this prophecy. We, as the readers, know this prophecy is real. Like, we know the threat in the north is real. We know Aegon's dream is real. We know that it's talking about real events. There is a real threat. And the fact that she is yelling about this is objectively correct. She's right. But none of the people in the audience have any idea about that. They have no way to know that she's correct. So, like, it makes her look absolutely mad. Um, so yeah, like it's not great. Yeah, cool prophecy, but about my health insurance. And yes, this speech would have gone over better at the wall. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, she lost the marketing for sure. Yeah. Yeah, and that is the other thing. Like, she just went in there to talk to the Pope and then comes out without the Pope, and the Pope is not there to anoint her. And they're like, "Oh, well, that's not great." And then she's calling herself the chosen one. It is wild. And like, yeah, again, like talking about this threat that like we the audience know is real, and then none of the people in the crowd do. I made the joke. It's like the president coming out and being like, "Yeah, the UFOs are real. Like, the UFOs are here. We gotta. There's something going on with these UFOs, and we got to get to the bottom of it." And like most of the crowd doesn't have enough information to be like, well, yeah, like sure, you're right, but like most of the people you're talking about don't know about that. So all of the crowd is just staring at her like, what do we even do with this? Um, and so yeah, it is kind of funny, like all of the disconnect between the people who have the information and the people who don't. And she is yelling to a crowd of people who don't have enough information to know that she's not completely crazy, but she looks completely crazy, especially as she screams, "I am Rhaenyra the Chosen," then in a language they can't speak, shouts, "I am the prince who is promised." It's great. It's great. Yeah, Queen of Bastards was bad enough, but she believes in Snarks and Grumpkins too. Yeah, that is the reasonable reaction from all of these people. Um, and yes, being 100% correct, but also uh not getting the message across in a good way. That is the thing. Yeah. Um yes, it is good. It is good. This whole disconnect between Rhaenyra and her people is absolutely like this is the climax of it for sure. A very good last, not her last scene, but like a good culmination of the Mad Rhaenyra arc for this season for sure. And then we cut to the Battle of Tumbleton. Um And yeah, oh yeah, this was like I'm sure many of you saw my post, my little meme post. Um, like I posted from this part of the speech. in like advertising the stream where I was like, okay, so yeah, sure, my opponent just got resurrected from the dead, but the gods gave me my ex-husband's dragon, so that'll tell you who they really support. Like, she's out here being like, listen, my opponent in this election may have been resurrected from the dead like Jesus Christ himself, but I assure you, God wants me to rule. It's like, that's not a very good pitch that you're making here, and not well timed. But yes, it is then time for the Battle of Tumbleton, and we get the Northmen all just slamming their shields, screaming, getting themselves hyped up. All these old men who have come down here to die. It is hype. Hype is building, and then it cuts to children whimpering and peeing their pants and throwing up. And yeah, it's great. It is great. Like the full, like, the straight cut from this to this, the children crying, it's great. um then they say that there's no sign or word of Ulf anywhere. They still haven't been able to find him. Ormond's squire, whoever messenger, comes up to him and tells him, hey, the battle has started. He's like, yeah, I'm aware. And he's like, yeah, they didn't accept Darren's terms. And John Roxton looks like, what? And Ormond turns around, he's like, terms. And so yeah, it's phenomenal to see Ormond react to the fact that Darren has gone over his head and sent Gwaine out to try negotiate terms with the other side, even though Ormond did not approve of that. And yeah, he says King Darren sent Sir Gwaine. So Ormond is horrified, horrified by the loss of control, essentially. Like, obviously, it's bad that they're in a battle that they're probably all about to die in if Ulf isn't found, but he's even more rattled by the fact that the person he was abusing for his entire life has now disobeyed him. Like, that is what, like, rattles Ormond even more. So yeah, it's great. And yes, Ormond was a phenomenal villain, like one of the MVPs of this season for sure. For sure. Um, let's see. Uh yeah, John Roxton with his bowl cut is also very good. He's very intimidating. Um so then Daemon also finds out that Ulf is not with his dragon. This is also funny. Daemon's dude comes up to him. He's like, I can't find Ulf the White, your grace. And he's just like, he has a very large dragon. He's like, yeah, he's not with his dragon. And Daemon's like, what is going on here? So then he hops on his dragon instead and just starts roasting everyone up on the walls. Uh, which is, reasonable. Like, okay, well, we are missing a dragon. I guess I have to use mine. Um, Honestly, a little unreasonable for Daemon to ever not be on Caraxes, but Rhaenyra did tell him not to just burn all of Tumbleton alive, so there is that. And then, yeah, they send out all of those child soldiers. They force them to go and just stand in front of the gate. Uh, Daemon yells at them to get out of the way. All but a couple do, and he hesitates for as long as he can, and then eventually just Dracarys the gate. Those two kids were running away at the end as Daemon does his Dracarys. I don't think they got out. One of the two might have, with some minor burns. The one looked like he kind of did get engulfed in the flame. So yeah, it is it it's character growth from Daemon that he did tell the kids to get out of the way, but two of them, he's just like, well, I'm not waiting forever, so two of you got to go, I guess. Yeah, but when I say as long as he can, I mean like he waited long enough to give them a chance to to give them a chance to get out of the way, and they didn't. So, um he waited until it seemed that they had decided they weren't going to move, I should say. But yeah. And then, like, one of my favorite shots was after the gate was like burning down to embers or whatever, Caraxes just bursts his face through the gate. my one complaint with Caraxes' strategy in this battle is Caraxes does this where he pokes his head through the gate and then doesn't just blast fire on all of these dudes. Um, like I don't want to sit here and criticize Caraxes because he's been in a lot more battles than I have. But like he should have like shoved his head through here and then breathed fire on every dude with a crossbow because there was like 20 dudes with crossbows like standing there staring at him, and he didn't. So then later on, when Damon and everyone ride through the gate, they have to like actually face the soldiers that are there, who should have been on fire. So like, I think this is the first time in all of my coverage of this show I've had a complaint with Caraxes. But I do wonder what he was up to here. Maybe he was out of fire. Maybe like he has to rebuild his fire charge before he can attack again. I don't really know. Um, and yeah, maybe Caraxes is secretly a pacifist. I don't know. Damon was off of his back by this point, so maybe without Damon on his back, or yeah, or maybe it's this. Maybe, well, no, I mean, he burned. It was all soldiers standing directly in front of him, but maybe he did also feel like some of Damon's desire to not burn the whole city down. Um, but yeah, and I agree. Putting his face through was risky. And yes, the dragons do absolutely continue to be cat coded for sure. Uh, but putting his face through was risky. So like once he was there, he should have been blasting fire like crazy on everyone. But you know, minor complaints. And yes, maybe he does have to charge up his combo meter. Yeah, all out of fire, definitely possible. Um, but yeah, in any case, he doesn't burn everyone alive, but he does look absolutely badass, sticking his long neck and his face through the gate and breaking it all down so that they can all ride on through there. And then it is also hilarious when Roddy and the Northmen realize the gate is open and they're all still alive. And all of the Northmen groan like they're all disappointed that, like, oh man, like, why are we still alive? What else do we have to do? The job is done and we didn't die yet. Um, so then Roddy decides, okay, you guys go find Darren. I want to go kill Lord Hightower. Like Roddy has come south to die, and at this point he's just seemingly decided, like, all right, well, I'm gonna go try and kill the highest ranking dude here before I die, so that the history books will remember that. That seems to be his motivation here. So yeah, he's gonna go hunt down Lord Hightower. So yeah. Then we cut to Ulf, who has passed out on the bar toilet. Uh, and there was some debate on David's stream, like right after the episode, which toilet is the most socially acceptable to pass out on? Is it your home toilet? Is it a bar toilet? Porta potty? Like, where is it the most acceptable to just completely pass out on the toilet? I would argue, I mean, your home toilet is the least embarrassing to pass out on, but it is also probably the most likely you would pass out on the bar toilet because that's where you're going to be drunk the most. But I guess I'll leave that up to chat to come to a conclusion about gas station toilet, home. We're getting some votes for home. Okay. I mean, home is more polite, yes, but more pathetic. I would agree. I would agree. And yes, you can get 86 from a bar for that. But like by the time you're passing out on the toilet, I mean, anywhere you pass out in a bar, they're probably gonna be like, all right, we need to get you a ride home. Um, but yeah. I mean, fair enough. Maybe you get blackout drunk at home and pass out on your toilet too. That is also possible. That is also possible. But anyway, Ulf has passed out on the bar toilet. Ormond is the one who finds him and is about to throw up, but he gets one last sniff of his wonderful scent, his little pomander or whatever it's called, that he works so diligently to make sure it always smells good for him. He gets one last sniff of it, uh, which, you know, at least he gets to enjoy that. But yeah. So then he drags Ulf out before Ulf even gets his pants up. I don't obviously I didn't get the screenshot, but I do think we get a split second of Ulf Dong as he flings the door open. So for those of you who are doing a dong counter of the season, the floppy wiener counter, we got a bunch of them earlier on with the gold cloak scene with Alicent, and I think we might have gotten another one here with Ulf. So yeah, I think I'd have to rewatch probably one more time to be sure, because I wasn't pausing looking for Ulf dong, but I did think I saw. I'm like, wait a minute, the count has gone up by one. But in any case, yeah, without even allowing him to pull his pants up, he tosses him down. He's kicking him in the side. He's yelling at him, calling him a worthless sot. And he tells him to get up, get on your dragon, and do as you've been told. And again, Ormond continues to be phenomenal at crashing out and yelling at people. Um, which, okay, for the second time this season, I do actually have to somewhat defend Ormond's crash out. As someone who has never hit another person in anger, I don't know what I would do if my life and the lives of like everyone around me was relying on this dude and he fucked up that badly. Like, if ever there is a time to crash out and just smack the shit out of someone, this is a reasonable time to crash out. You're the key part of the strategy in this battle. The other time I defended him was when he attacked that table because Aemond did not said he wasn't coming on Vagar. Basically, it's like, yeah, okay, I took this entire city and have risked my life and the life of 15,000 other men to put you on the throne, Aemond, and you're just going to run away with the biggest nuclear weapon in our arsenal. So Ormond's crash out there, well, a little bit valid because it's basically like being told, "Oh, you're risking your life for some dude, and that dude just ran away and left you to die." That's a valid time to crash out. This is also a somewhat valid time to crash out. So he crashes out at Ulf. Ulf is very upset by this. Um, Ulf is gives him a look of like, you know what, you just made a big mistake there, buddy. I am gonna go get on my dragon, but now I'm not listening to anybody. Um, and then we cut to a scene of Cat. So this high tower dude comes in one door, the Northmen come in the other, and Cat is used as like a human projectile. She's like chucked at the Northmen, which seems to be how she dies. Like, I don't exactly know how Cat ended up dead. Like, she doesn't seem to have any horrible wounds or anything, but she was launched into a Northman. So either way, Cat is not doing so well here, and all Hugh is running through the city looking for Cat. And I did see a hilarious meme because like Damon stares over at him and looks confused as he sees Hugh shouting Cat. And I did see a hilarious meme of someone being like, Damon at this point is just really confused as to why Hugh is looking for a cat in the middle of this fight. Like, he just thinks he's like lost his pet cat or something because Damon doesn't care. Damon doesn't know anything about the Dragon Seed's personal lives. So he's just like, what? Why is Hugh here looking for his lost cat? Like, we're in the middle of a battle. But yeah, that I did think that was very funny. And rewatching the scene, imagining that is Damon's like thought process does check out because he looked at him, he's like, what is he doing? Uh, but anyway, he then just starts shouting for Ormond Hightower, and you can see just above my head off to the left, we got Bullcut John stalking him down from behind as he yells for Ormond. And then he yells at him, Kinslayer, Babe Killer, Heathen, and he attacks him. And I'm gonna be honest, he just kind of beats the crap out of Daemon for this whole fight. Like, we get Valyrian steel sword on Valyrian steel sword, and Daemon gets beat. John Roxton's got the reach, he's got the strength. They both end up disarming each other, and he seems to win in the fist fight wrestling match portion of the fight. A little bit later on, I don't think I got a screenshot of it, but he almost puts out his eye to make him match with Aemond. Uh, but he doesn't quite get him because Daemon hits him in the head with a pot. But yeah, it it is a heck of a fight, which Daemon is absolutely losing. Then we cut to Gwaine looking for Darren, and he finds him over by Tsarion, and he's trying to get ready to saddle up Tsarion to go and fight. And Gwaine begs him not to throw away his life. Darren says, yeah, he'll die, but he won't be remembered as a coward. And Gwaine is like, listen, dude, I have known lots of people who thought that dying bravely was the only way to find glory. It's not worth throwing your life away. Please don't do this. Like, I can't have another person I know throw their life away in the hopes of a glorious death. And Darren is like very conflicted because tons of people are dying to put him on the throne, including literally like 8-year-old kids. Like it is a very conflicting moment for Darren. Um, and yeah, Darren is being very brave here. Um, absolutely. And yeah. Um, let's see. Yeah, it's a It yeah, a really good scene. I really like it because then Gwaine says, "You're gonna have to go through me then," because Tasarion like growls at him a little bit, and Darren tells him to stay back, so that he doesn't get eaten by his dragon. And Gwaine's just like, "Look, if you're gonna ride out of here on your dragon, you're gonna have to kill me to get out," and that is also very brave. So like both of them very brave, very emotional bond between these two characters. They clearly actually love each other and hate Ormond, and Gwaine doesn't want him to die for Ormond's stupid scheme. And Darren has, I mean, I assume some amount of like survivor's guilt if he doesn't, because yeah, uh, Ormond told him earlier on, like, all of this is for you. Every bit of this is for you. Isn't that great? And it's like, no, actually, it's not. I don't want any of this. Um, so yeah, it was a really good scene. I really liked this line specifically from Gwaine. Like, Gwaine continues to be one of the absolutely best characters unexpectedly. Like, I never thought I would have like liked Gwaine as much as I do. But yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. Oh yeah, and thank you for the reminder. Like the stream if you're in here. If you're in here, it is free to hit the like button. So there you go. Um, but yes, thank you for the reminder. Like and subscribe. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and so yeah. Then we get another scene, because Ulf goes and gets up on Silverwing, and we get another scene of the army cheering for the dragon. And this time it does not go so well because he flies towards Tumbleton, does a loop around, and then starts roasting the army that's cheering for him. Yeah. So that doesn't go so hot. Or it does go so hot, but it shouldn't have. They didn't want it to be so hot. But yes, it is another really interesting turn of the tides here, and they realize, oh, this is Ormond's piece on the board. Like, this is the thing that he has had planned this entire time, and they're just like, oh, maybe we're not all gonna die. Like, this is awesome. Um, so yeah, it is a interesting thing. Like, I don't know if Ormond learned from his Savas game against Darren, where Ormond refused to use his dragon and he lost. Because he did also like his original plan was that Vagar was going to come and rescue them. So like he was always willing to use the dragon, I think, but also he did get beat by Darren in a game of Savas because he refused to use the dragon. So it yeah, it may be some learning and character growth from Ormond. Either way, he proves he's willing to use the dragon by getting Ulf on side, and it looks like it's going to work at least for a little while. Um, but then yeah, we get Roddy finding Ormond, and they fight. Not doing a ton of screenshots for the battle because I don't want to get demonetized from all the blood everywhere. But you guys watched the episode. You know what happens. Ormond gets his teeth bashed in. Roddy gets straight up stabbed in the chest and then his arm chopped off. And then Ormond gets stabbed right up the bum. Uh, from the north, as Roddy says. And then Ulf is flying over them, and he says, "You know what? Screw you two," and he burns all of the Hightower guardsmen on the main gate where they were all standing. So yeah, there in the midst of the fire is Ormond getting burned alive, and Ormond is panicking and freaking out, and Roddy is just like thrown his arms apart and accepted it, and he's like, "Finally, I've come all this way just for this, and I get to die in a really cool way. This is the best case scenario." So yeah, he's jacked. He wanted a cool death. He wanted to write himself into the history books. He gets to kill Ormond basically, and then die in Dragonfire. You really can't do too much better than that for the mission that he was on. Um, so yeah, we see Silverwing burning a bunch of the city, and including Ormond. And also, again, I called that George loves to do his foreshadowing with Savas. Um, like I think George foreshadows a lot of characters' fate with the way that they play Savas and what happens in their games. And Ryan Condal stuck to that pattern. He had Ormond lose to the dragon piece, and it was in fact the white dragon piece that Darren was playing, if I remember correctly. And Silverwing, the closest to a white dragon that we have, ends up burning Ormond alive. I had hoped and thought maybe Tessarion would join this battle and roast Ormond as like Darren breaking free from this abusive relationship, but it makes sense that they didn't do that. It would have been cool. But either way, yeah, Fagon with the Savas, absolutely. Your dragon is too far away, and he loses. That is a thing. And yes, Ulf the White, that is a good point. It was the White Dragon, and Ulf the White is the one who gets Ormond. So yeah, the foreshadowing is there. Ryan Condal understands how George uses Savas, and yeah, he pays it off here with Ulf the White roasting Ormond. So bringing that whole thing full circle. Very good, very good. Ooh, this is good actually. Like honestly, Ulf's actor should pick up a White Claw sponsorship after this show, or even I mean even before the show ends, because yeah, there are no laws when you're drinking White Claws, and that would be a perfect, perfect uh, advertising campaign for Ulf the White. Absolutely, that would like you don't get much better than that. Him riding around on his dragon, or even just drinking in a pub, uh, passed out on the toilet with his White Claws. All of it. It would all be perfect. Um, but so then we come back to Damon continuing to get his face beat in by John Roxton. And I love all of the Matt Smith facial expressions throughout the course of this fight, and later on it gets even better when he's shell shocked. Um, but yeah, so Silverwing burns the street that they're on, and a bunch of rubble falls in between Damon and John Roxton. So Damon like gets briefly knocked out. John Roxton is separated from him and can't finish him off. And then Damon wakes up looking like this. He's shell shocked. He's got the ringing in his ears, and he's looking around like, what the hell is going on? He's like confused, concussed, the 1,000-yard stare, all of it. Um, yeah, it's great. It's great. Yes, like this one, and then when Corlys grabs him and says we're leaving, this face is like my favorite of the whole episode. This is phenomenal. Like I probably should have, and I almost found a way to work this one into the thumbnail. Um, because yeah, like this is one of the best screenshots so far. Um, and yes, it did have some season 8 flashbacks for sure of like the burning of King's Landing, the shock of being in a city being destroyed by a dragon. But yeah, this this is like yeah, one of the shots of the episode for me. Um, but then we get to see so just before this, I didn't take multiple screenshots of it, but just before this we see Silverwing being chased away by Caraxes, who's blowing fire at his tail, or her tail. And then Vermithor chasing Caraxes, being like, "Get away from my wife!" So yeah, this was adorable. Like the characterization of the dragons, Silverwing and Vermithor were the old king and the good Queen Alisane's dragons. They're in love. They're married, and like I like to imagine that the only reason that Silverwing took on Ulf as a rider is because she could sense like, okay, my husband took a rider. I better take a rider too so we can go on adventures together because I don't want to be separated. So then the first drunk who shows up, she's just like, okay, you can ride me. It's fine. Uh, so yeah, these two dragons are in love, and Caraxes is chasing Vermithor's wife, and Vermithor doesn't like it. All of them, besides Silverwing, did not have a rider on them. So this is just pure dragon characterization, and I like it a lot. Um, and then we cut to Helena. She's sewing this last thread of her embroidery, and I thought what they were gonna do, because she's sewing this tower, and they leave this red thread hanging down from the tower unfinished. And I thought that was gonna be the metaphor in the embroidery for her throwing herself from the window, like the last thread that she does is unfinished. It's a red thread, it's hanging from a tower window. Um, I thought that was going to be the symbolism that they went with. And then she goes and walks towards the window. And then we cut back to Tumbleton, where John Roxton finds the burned remains of Ormond, and he's very sad. And then we have Hugh finding Kat, um, and Kat is apparently dead. I imagine she's not just unconscious, but she doesn't have like major wounds or anything. But I imagine we're supposed to take that she is dead. So Hugh is very upset, and then we cut back to Rhaenyra. Oh, and we also, I didn't get a shot of it, but Gwaine was looking for Darren, and we don't see a body. I assume that means Darren has survived. But yeah. Uh, then we have Rhaenyra coming back from the coronation, and Olinda Massey says, "My queen," or "Your Grace," or whatever, and has a sad, horrified look on her face. And then Rhaenyra is in Helena's room. She sees the windows open, the embroidery is hanging out of it, and Alicent sees a bunch of butterflies taking off, and she feels a disturbance in the Force. Alicent's actress said in the like after the episode, she's just like, "Oh yeah." Like she didn't know exactly what, but in that moment she knew that something very horrible had gone wrong. Like she could sense it. Um so Alicent sees the butterflies take off, and then Rhaenyra, we see Helena has thrown herself from the window, again not screenshot because it is um there's a giant bloody spike sticking through her neck. You guys watched the episode, you know what it looked like. And then Rhaenyra finds that the full embroidery, and Helena has embroidered herself falling from the Red Keep, crying horrible tears with her hair flowing behind her. It is very sad. So they weren't only doing the unfinished red thread coming from the tower. She straight up, like, they didn't make it subtle. They didn't make it subtext. They made it text. Helena has embroidered herself falling to her death. So yeah. Um yeah, it's very sad. It is very sad. Oh yeah, that's a good catch. I didn't even notice that. But yes, her skirt does look like butterfly wings. Like she's got the two flaps of the skirt there. She kind of looks like a little butterfly in a little way. That is also a good catch for sure. Um but yeah, Helena has embroidered her own death. Rhaenyra is like, "Oh, this isn't great." And then Helena has also embroidered Rhaenyra on the throne, with the crown causing her to bleed and that blood dripping over everything, running down the throne, and fire all around her, and dragons dying in the background, and people dying in the background. Um, so yeah, this is not a good sign for Rhaenyra. If we remember, Rhaenyra was looking to Helena and to her prophecies to get some reassurance that she is doing the right thing. She was shaking her like the prophecy vending machine, being like, a prophecy of Tumbleton. Tell me about Ormond. Tell me about Daemon. Tell me if the gods have chosen me to rule. And now this prophetic person who she was hoping to get reassurance from is telling her basically the crown is destroying you. Dragons are dying, people are dying. It's not great. It can't be great for Rhaenyra. So yeah, it's it's not good. Not good at all. Um so yeah, it's that she looks down at finally getting the prophecy, like the prophetic reading that she wanted from Helena, and it's not the result that she wanted. Like she wanted some hint of what Helena thought with her magic future vision of like, am I doing the right thing? And Helena didn't give her the reading that she wanted, so she hardens herself to it. She like hardens her heart and she shuts the window. She's just like, you know what? I'm moving on. It's like you go all the way to meet the oracle to see if you're doing the right thing, and she says no you're not, and you're like, well, that's a stupid thing anyway. I don't even believe you anymore. Like, you don't get the result you want, you ignore it and push on anyway. Seems to be what's going on here. um and yeah, it is something that, like, I'm sure I think even Rhaenyra's actress said, like, she is she started out this season unsure, like she was trying to do the right thing, but unsure if she was. And by the end of the season, she's sure that she is on a bad path. Like, she knows that I think the way she said it, she was like unsure of her goodness in the beginning, and now she is sure of her badness. Like something along those lines. Like, she is she has now realized, like, oh no, like, I am for sure on a bad path according to the prophecy person. But she doesn't want to I think, admit that to herself. So she shuts the window and like hardens her face and resolves to continue on the path that she's on anyway. So yeah. Um and yes, this is a good point. She can't dismiss it because it comes from Helena and her dragon blood, not the Seven. It is a dragon prophecy. Yes, good points for sure. For sure. And yeah, you go to meet the Oracle, and the Oracle gives you the wrong, like the reading that you don't want, and then throws herself and her child from a window, and you're just like, ah, dang, this I expected this to go better. So yeah. Yep. And yeah, she is past even listening to the gods. Absolutely. She killed the Pope and pissed off the dragon gods all in this episode, and also ranted to the people about how she's the chosen one. So yeah, it's not great. It's not great. And yes, she can't turn back at this point. She is too far in. Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, yep, absolutely. She just got back from the pissing off of the Seven and dooming herself to the seven hells according to the High Septon. And now she comes back and finds out that even the dragon gods don't favor her. It's not great. It is not great. Um, but yeah, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Is there any other real big thoughts on the episode or the season, or any major questions? Let me know in the chat. What did you guys think of the episode and also the season as a whole? I would say this episode 9.5 out of 10. Like, it was a really good episode. 9.5, that range. And the season as a whole, like an 8 to a 9, like 8.5 maybe. It was definitely, in my opinion, a step up from season 2. And I say that as someone who liked season 2 in hindsight. Like, obviously the flaw with season 2 was that it was set up for a climax that got cut off by no fault of the writing team, and we had to wait for the climax, which in the moment hurt season 2, but in hindsight, season 2, once you can binge it along with season 3, was good. And season 3 was better, I would say. So yeah, it was good. It was, in my opinion, the season was good. And yeah, I think it is great TV. 9 for the season. This episode was the best of the season. 6 out of 10. Are we saying for the season as a whole? I'm guessing, or maybe for the episode. Um, let's see. Um, yes, I really hope that we get 10 episodes for season 4. I really do as well. As many episodes as they need. 10, 12, HBO. You got to stick the landing. You cannot rush to the end of another Westeros show and not have enough episodes. Like you got to stick the landing on this one. I'm sorry, you just do. Give them as many episodes as they need to stick the landing. 8 out of 10, 5. Um, favorite episode of the season. Whole season, yes. Like the first 2 episodes were the resolution and the payoff of all of the setup for season 2, and then from episode 3 onward, it was basically all build up to this episode. And I agree. I'd say it was the best. I'd say like the first 2 episodes and the last 2 episodes were absolutely the top 4 of the season. And I didn't dislike any of the middle episodes, but they were all kind of the build up for the final couple episodes, which is understandable. That's how you have to do it. Like you can't have nothing but payoff. You need the setup to make the payoff have any weight. Um so yeah, it was fine that, like, the middle of the season was the build up for this. So yeah. I do agree. It would be better to have more episodes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um and then, oh yeah, this is a good point. She is sort of calling her Maegor with teats with this whole thing, cuz yeah, like Maegor the Cruel was found dead on the Iron Throne with the swords poking through him and bleeding everywhere. And she doesn't have swords going through her, but what Helena is showing her is that the crown is causing her to bleed all over the place. Like the crown is destroying you, Rhaenyra, is the whole point of this. Um, episode 7 out of 10, season 6.5 out of 10. Season was 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed the season. Episode 9 out of 10, season 8-ish. That is definitely fair. Yeah, there's some harsh ratings here, like I don't know, 5 out of 10 season wise. I like it depends. I guess it maybe some of the harsher ratings are somewhat coming from like rating it as an adaptation of Fire and Blood, because they went away from that in a lot of ways. But in terms of like its own self-contained story, and in terms of like comparing it to other TV shows, I feel like it's good. Like I feel like it's far better than a mid TV show, right? Like personally, I mean, obviously it is all subjective. You like what you like, you don't like what you don't like. But for me, like if you're giving it a 5 out of 10, are we saying that like half of television that's made is better than this season of House of the Dragon? Cuz I'm missing a lot of really great TV if half of the TV that's made is better than this season of House of the Dragon. Like this is up there in the top 10 to 20% of TV made, in my opinion. But I don't watch everything made, I guess. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Like maybe I am missing a lot of way better TV and that's affecting my rating, but I really enjoyed it. Uh a solid 7 of a season. Most people would enjoy it without knowing any lore. 8 for the season, but it's too short, so 7. Um, 7.5, 7. Um, yeah, we were supposed to get 40 episodes of this. Um, and now we're being shorted maybe 6 to 7 hours in all. Yeah, I hope we get 10 episodes of next season, and they as long as they give them enough time to finish it. But yeah, I can't help but be sad for what the show could have been if they had gotten 10 episodes last season and we got 10 episodes this season and then we got one more 10 episode season. Like, damn, this show could have been like even better. Like, if season 2 had the first 2 episodes of this season on the end of it, it would have been way more well received. The hype would have continued on throughout this season, and then this season would have had 4 more episodes. Like, we would be eating good, and people would be, I think, even more hyped than they are. 7 or an 8 out of 10 on the season. Um, yeah, I hope they do come out. I mean, I don't know if the next season's even like fully written yet. I know they're not filming it yet, but like I don't know how far they are into the writing of it with how long these delays are. But yeah, hopefully they tell us soon. Um so yeah. And yeah, there is a strong case to be made that episode 2 was the best cuz it is like the season 2 finale. So like it is a four-way competition, I think, between 1, 2, 7 and 8 for the best episode. I'll probably have to rewatch the full season at some point soon, and maybe I'll turn it into a video where I like rank the episodes or something. I don't know. We'll see. Um 7.5, some nines, but a few 5.5s. Fair enough. Fair enough. Wish they used Roddy more. Also fair enough. And yeah, this is true. Like Rhaenyra's cruelty is building up, but it's building up because she is going through horrible things over and over and over again. Like she is absolutely being hammered by horrible life-changing events, betrayals from her family usurping the throne that everyone agreed was supposed to be hers, other than like Otto and a few of the small council members. Like Viserys reaffirmed it right before he died. Like it, yeah, it was supposed to be hers. She was betrayed by her family. Other members of her family are all dying. Yeah, it is understandable that someone going through everything Rhaenyra is going through um is not like in the best state mentally, and now all of these problems are being thrown at her feet. So yeah, it is a good realistic descent into cruelty and Mad Queen Rhaenyra to the extent that we're getting that. So yeah, yeah, it's done really well. Um, and yeah, it is like there's a lot of build up for next season as well. Absolutely. Um, and yeah, yeah, I do agree. We need 10 episodes. Hopefully, we get it. Um, let's see. And yeah, still better than most TV, absolutely. Like, you can have your complaints about it, and then, yeah, fair enough. But, like, if we're comparing it to other television shows, real dang good. Also, I don't think I ever went to the last slide of my slideshow, but okay, how many of you saw this meme, this AI image meme before the episode? Because I saw it posted a few times, and I laughed very hard. A bunch of people thought that this was real and that Helena was going to throw herself off uh, the tower in the background of Rhaenyra giving her big Visenya rally speech. Um, like this was absolutely hilarious to me. Uh, so many people were either angry that this was real or really excited that this was real, and obviously it wasn't. Like if you've seen enough AI images, like look if you just look at Rhaenyra's teeth, you know that this is AI. Um, but like they did get the outfits right. Like they did a good job of making this look like a believable, horrible screenshot, to the point where it did genuinely fool a ton of people. Um, so yeah, this was very funny. Um, but yeah, like the only downside I have about this is it probably did spoil some people who weren't in the know that Helena was going to throw herself from a window. But like beyond that, if you take out the fact that they did kind of spoil that potentially, this is like a 10 out of 10 image here. So yeah. And yes, like a very very funny dive pose from Helena. Uh, like swan diving into the crowd as Rhaenyra gives the "Are you not entertained?" like angry speech. Yes, this was amazing. Like phenomenal work by whoever it was that made this. It does get funnier the more you look at it. Like this was like on the Free Folk subreddit, which is like the full spoiler subreddit. Which if you don't go there, they do also love to just complain about freaking everything and be miserable a lot. But also this was posted like 20 times there. And it became like a full-on meme template of like people posting different captions over it, and it was great. Um, but yeah, no. Um, in any case, I had to have this as the last slide for the slideshow just because it was so funny. But yeah, so anything else major that you guys really want to talk about? And yes, I am glad it isn't real, but it is very funny. um, yeah. The "Who the F is this guy" meme was great too. Which oh, I might have missed that one. Um, which meme was that? I may have missed that one. Or if you maybe I will have seen it if you give me more context. But yes, Dreamfire should have roared. Uh Dreamfire should have roared as Helena died. I agree that that was kind of missing. Um yes, back to Rhaenyra bleeding on the throne, and look at the hand reaching up with two black fingers. We have there's oh yeah, the one with the white and then the two black fingers there. That's the one we're talking about. Was there stuff being said about it in chat? I did scroll past quite a bit of the chat because there are many of you in here talking, and I do appreciate all of that. Um, the one hand reaching up in the flame has two black fingers. Is that going to be Rhaenyra's hand? Um, Interesting. Could be like you're saying she gets cut or something on a couple of her fingers potentially. Um, but yeah. Thank you, Ross. Mad King equals Westeros side story. I'm genius. There you go. Yeah. The West Side Story for Westeros. That is good. That is good. And yeah, she did cut her hand on the throne. So yeah, potentially that could be because like yeah, it is interesting. That doesn't really look like it is just shadowing because it's not on the underside of her other fingers. Maybe it's some weird shadowing by Helena, like, those, but like that doesn't seem to quite work. So yeah, maybe like two of her fingers are gonna rot. Because yeah, she did cut two of her fingers, and I think she cut her left hand. That looks like a right hand. But artistic license perhaps from Helena. Um, and yeah, there's like you see the dragon with a hand chopped off, like you see the severed dragon hand there. Um, Yeah, it's a lot of good foreshadowing-y stuff. Yes, the lizard hand there. Um, and well, thank you. Yeah, hopefully this is a good space even for those of you who don't like the season. I mean, I you know, we like what we like. There are things that I can see why people would complain about them, but also I really liked it. I try not to get super caught up in trying to be negative about the shows that I watch. Like, for me to really dislike something, you do kind of have to butcher it pretty hard. Like I mentioned the Avatar, like season 1 I watched and I was like, this is not a super great adaptation, but I wasn't like raging about it. But like for context, I wanted to cover it on the channel when Netflix released Avatar season 1. And then I watched and I was like, this is not great. I kind of don't want to cover it on the channel anymore. um and then I just haven't watched season 2 yet. So like that's kind of how I react to a show that is not really landing with me, where I'm just like, okay, I mean, I guess. Um, but yeah, it's you know, this is nowhere near like a completely butchered adaptation, in my opinion. It's it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Oh yeah, this is interesting. Like, I wonder if yeah, some of Helena's blood probably did end up in this tapestry because she was like poking her fingers with the little needles that she was using for the embroidery. So yeah, it is definitely likely that some of Helena's blood is woven into this tapestry. I don't think she misreads this as vindication from Helena because of all of the blood flowing down from the crown. That I think that combined with her like not looking happy when she sees it, and then just coldly slamming the window or coldly closing the window and not looking sad about Helena. I think we are meant to think that she is reading this correctly. She knows that this is not a good picture of her reign. This is a sign that her reign is going to destroy her and the dragons and the people, and everything is going to be burning. Like the symbolism is not hard to miss. I don't think Rhaenyra misreads it. I think she knows that this is a bad reading from the fortune teller that she wanted answers from. Yes, it is a bad omen. It is a bad omen. Yo, I want them badly to do Blackfire Rebellion shows. I worry that it will clash with, or they will at least think it will clash with Dunk and Egg, and in some ways it will, but like, damn, I think they could find a way to run a Blackfire Rebellion show in tandem with Dunk and Egg that they would build off of each other. Um, like, I would love to see me a full-on Blackfire Rebellion show personally. But yeah, the big question is, will they do it with Dunk and Egg? Like, if we're trying to figure out what's the most likely to be adapted next, I don't know. We're getting the Aegon's Conquest movie, um, which is awesome. I'm very much happy about that. Eventually, I think they should do a Blackfire Rebellion show. They may wait before they do it again because of Dunk and Egg, but like, if we get the Aegon's Conquest show, maybe they would do like a Maegor the Cruel series or something like that. I pitched an Alyssa Farman show, like the that era would be dope. Like Reyna running around doing her thing. Like that whole era could make for a really cool show. Or like, I pitched the Alyssa Farman show instead of the Arya sailing around the world show, because I don't think many people really want that. And if we're gonna do a sailing west of Westeros show, they should absolutely start it with Alyssa Farman stealing her dragon eggs, like a season of Alyssa Farman being friends with the Targaryens, then eventually not having her ship funded and deciding to steal the eggs and go and fund her ship. That'd be a dope season 1. And it ends with her like taking off to see what's west of Westeros. And if it does well, we get season 2 about what's west of Westeros. I think there's a lot of eras that could do well. Um, and yes, Arya's arc doesn't need a continuation from the end of Game of Thrones, in my opinion. I don't think we need that. Yeah, the first Daenerys, that would be kind of cool, and yeah, maybe people would be drawn in by like learning about a prior Daenerys. That would be yeah, like there's a lot of eras of history that they could go for next. I don't know if any of them would be like as big and bombastic as the dance, other than like the Blackfire rebellions. Like that is, if we're not, because I assume because of the Mad King play, we're not getting a Robert's Rebellion show for a while. But now that the Mad King play has come out, I do think it makes it more likely that we get a Robert's Rebellion show eventually. Because a decade ago, George had basically said no to a Robert's Rebellion adaptation because he was saving a bunch of the reveals of a bunch of mysteries and such like stuff like that. So we we don't need that, like, sorry, I had to pay attention to chat for a second. We weren't gonna get it because he had so many mysteries that he wanted to hold back. And now we got the answers to those mysteries with the Mad King stage play, so he doesn't have anything to hold back anymore. So a full HBO like season or two Robert's Rebellion show would go hard. Um so yeah, I kind of hope that I kind of hope that we get that eventually. Um yeah, Bobby B's Big Bellion, absolutely. Eventually, yeah. Eventually I would love a Blackfire show. I would love a Robert's Rebellion show. An Alyssa Farman show would be better than an Arya show. A Magor era show would be dope. Like there are shows that they could do where it's not centered around like big massive wars, but it is centered around like really interesting court politics, and it'd be more of like a drama show in that way. So yeah, maybe we'll get like uh a show that is like almost entirely like character drama and court politics and relationships and stuff like that. Um so yeah, that is a you know, that's another possibility. And yeah, well, so this is the thing. Um we are basically in a position where it feels like they could build up to a situation of like a reboot, essentially, is what I've pitched. Is like they cut so much world building and things like that from the original show that um like if they did, and I understand why they did, right? The first time we're all watching Game of Thrones, the average audience has no idea about any of the history of this world. Um, but if they do like 2 decades worth of prequels and world building and awesome shows, everyone will know about the Blackfires, they'll know about Weirwoods, they'll know about dragons and the Targaryen history. That is the environment in which you could do a full 10 plus season reboot of Game of Thrones in 10 to 15 years and just go ham and not cut all of the cool stuff. And like everyone would get the references. You wouldn't need to go like have a character give some big long speech about who the Blackfires were. People who were watching the reboot would know who the Blackfires were because of the shows about them. So like yeah, and this is the other thing that like people talk about with Aegon's dream and the prophecy in House of the Dragon. They're like, well, it's all pointless anyway because it all leads up to Arya stabbing the Night King. And it's like, no, it is all leading up to the book canon ending, which we will hopefully get, which won't go like that. But even if not, look at these HBO shows as all prequels to the eventual reboot of Game of Thrones. Like that's how I view them. The prophecy buildup is not winking at season 8. It is winking at the fact that we know this stuff is coming and eventually there will be a reboot. Like I am confident in that. Um Eventually there will be a reboot. Everyone will have more context and yeah, it'll be great. I think like HBO, if you want to print money for the next several decades. Just nail a bunch of prequel shows, like stick the landing on House of the Dragon, give them enough episodes, nail a bunch of prequel shows, Robert's Rebellion, Blackfire Rebellions, a few other eras of Westerosi history. Hell, maybe even some before the Targaryens. Like you could make up and have some interkingdom wars before the Targaryens came around even. But yeah, then just nail the reboot of Game of Thrones and we're going to be eating good for like 25 years. 30 years of good Westeros TV is just easily within their grasp. So yeah, I do hope that is the route that they go down. But yeah, um, if there are any more major questions, get them in now. I am starting to feel my voice getting a little tired. Been talking for nearly 3 hours. But yeah, it is a fun end to the season. I will try not to completely stop live streaming. I will be busier during the fall than I was during the summer. So there won't be weekly live streams, but I will try to pop back in. I've got some ideas for some live streams that we could potentially do. So yeah, thank you all for joining me throughout the course of the season. And yeah, it's been fun hanging out with you all, reviewing all these episodes. Like and subscribe if you have not already. I won't be going anywhere. Content will be continuing. And yeah, especially I will see you for Night of the Seven Kingdoms coming at some point next year. Um, I'm not done with the Mad King play content. I had family in town all last week, so I wanted to bang out like a bunch of those videos before I got real busy. But I do have a couple more topics from the Mad King stage play. I had to give the portion of the fan base that like demonized Rhaegar and thought he was like the worst person in the entire series for some reason. I had to let them go through like the 5 stages of grief for their like hatred of Rhaegar. And now I feel like it is a little bit safer to come out and be like, guys, Rhaegar was obviously always like trying to save the freaking world. Like it is a thing that like it has been obvious the whole time. Ned didn't hate Rhaegar. Nobody hated Rhaegar besides Robert Baratheon, who was very obviously lied to about what went on with R+L. Like, it has always been a thing that George viewed Rhaegar and Lyanna as his Romeo and Juliet. Um, and that is obviously one of the biggest takeaways of the stage play. So I will try to gather my thoughts about that and put out a video about it eventually. And maybe a couple other little interesting things. But yeah, there is a few more contact, a few more uh, episodes that a few more things that we'll have to talk about from that. Some more content to be coming. But yeah. Um let's see. Let's see. Yeah, David is on that same on that same wave of was was able to recognize like had the ability to understand what was going on with Rhaegar and has been vindicated. Um and yes, this is like the one, and we'll say like it is the official position of this YouTube channel that you should not run away with a 15-year-old girl if God tells you to, and he promises it's important to save the world. But also, George is made his characters all too young, and like these stories make more sense if you imagine every teenage character is like 5 years older than they are. Jon Snow at Lyanna's age is leading an entire military organization. Robb Stark is like leading an entire war. Um, so yeah, like was Lyanna an age a year younger than the Westerosi age of adulthood? Yes. Should you run off with someone who is under the age of adulthood if God tells you to in a dream? No. But you know what you also shouldn't do is you also shouldn't convince the local mentally disabled man to carry the local physically disabled boy into the Arctic Circle to try and find the bird that has been talking to you in dreams. That's also a thing that you shouldn't do in real life. But we understand that this is a fantasy world where that kind of stuff is actually kind of important, and weird things like that happen. And there was like this weird portion of the fandom who wanted to completely ignore that aspect with Rhaegar of like, it's very clear he was following prophecy, and what he and Lyanna did led to Jon Snow, who is very clearly going to be important. Um, so it, you know, you have to take that into account, right? Like, he was trying to save the world. Bran is doing things that in the real world are objectively insane, but he's trying to save the world, and we're in his head seeing the dreams, so we know that. Uh, and so, like, everyone's like, oh, yeah, well, obviously you go find the three-eyed crow. And with Rhaegar, it's like, obviously you go try and make the savior the prince who was promised, but we're not in his head, so we don't have, like, that direct confirmation. But yeah, it was weird how like a portion of the fandom made Rhaegar into like the most demonized character in the whole series. But yeah, I don't know. It was a weird thing. I've given them like some time to, as I said, go through the stages of grief. And yeah, I will have a Rhaegar Lyanna video at some point, probably before too long. So yeah. But with that, I am gonna wrap it on up here. Thank you guys all very much for joining me for the last few hours and all season long. And I will talk to you all a little bit later. Bye bye.